Pokémon, medicine and martial arts. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 151, Inner Demon. HMPH, Yu was looking at Xiaoxu with a deeply touched expression. After scolding Xiaoxu, Air's expression softened somewhat, but she still glared at Yu in a sullen manner. Ah, Air is so cute now. I really want to go up and pinch her cheeks, instead of frightening Yu. This actually made his eyes light up. But he didn't dare to do that now. Even with Yu's usual personality, he had the will but not the guts. Oh. Yu, you're such a jerk. You're always like this. Whenever something happens, you always rush in first, and then either don't let us follow or find somewhere to put us. You have to remember that we're traveling together, perhaps influenced by the atmosphere. Serena couldn't help but express her long-held thoughts, even coughing with emotion as she spoke. That's what I'm saying. We're partners, traveling together on adventures. What's a partner? It's about facing problems together, sharing the burdens, being there to comfort you when you're sad. That's not about having to handle every problem alone, Air erupted, her words pouring out like a machine gun. Each word, each clear character, struck Yu's heart and mind like bullets. That's what I'm saying. Yu, you're always like this. Even though we're safe, we're always terrified, worried that you'll encounter something unsolvable. Even Xiaoxu, who is usually gentle and never easily angered, and had even spoken up for him just now, couldn't help but frown. Well, Yu was left speechless by the woman's words. After a long pause, he couldn't utter a single word, and he could only lower his head even lower. For a moment, the room fell silent, a blanket of silence that filled the room, and the atmosphere became somewhat eerie. Yu sat there in silence, head bowed. The three women stared at him, each with a different expression. Yu ignored their gazes, lost in thought. Yes, Air and the others are right. Serena, Air, and Xiaoxu are all traveling with me, companions who have looked after each other and relied on each other along the way. We must trust each other. We can't abandon them when things get tough and rush into battle alone. But, I was just trying to protect them, not wanting them to get hurt. Could it be that by doing this, I subconsciously believe they were a burden to me? No, that's not the case. The more he thought about it, the worse it got. Yu's mind was in a state of confusion, his face turning pale and blue, evidently shaken. Yu, what's wrong with you? Yu, stop scaring us. Seeing Yu's constantly changing expression, Air couldn't bother pretending anymore and stepped forward to ask with concern. Even Serena, seeing this, fought back the discomfort brought on by her fever, letting Xiaoxu help her up and surround them. However, Yu, as if possessed by a demon, didn't even hear the three women's calls. He simply sat there, his expression shifting from frown to smile, mumbling something under his breath. Any other warrior present would have cried out in shock. The inner demon. Yu's mind raced back to memories of his childhood, of his senior sister and Zuner chasing him away, of his companions being horribly harmed during his adventures in the martial arts world because he wasn't strong enough, of patients dying before his eyes because his medical skills weren't up to par. Each of these events was caused by his own lack of strength. This was why, whenever something happened, Yu always rushed in first, leaving Air and the other girls behind, fearing he wasn't strong enough to protect them. Back in the room, chaos reigned. Serena looked at Yu, who sat there, somewhat bewildered, and said, Why is Air like this? I don't know. He was fine just now. Air was also somewhat bewildered, frowning at the scene before her. I think we should go find Miss Joy. Xiaoxu was surprisingly the calmest person at this moment. She first went forward to check on Yu, but when she found nothing, she made a suggestion. As a good Pokémon breeder, caring for Pokémon and helping them recover quickly is essential. Previously, Xiaoxu had seen Yu using traditional Chinese medicine massage techniques to quickly restore Pokémon's health and relieve fatigue, and she had pestered him to teach her some medical skills. Yu naturally agreed. While he didn't teach her anything profound, He did share some common and useful quick diagnosis and treatment methods with Xiaoxu. After initially examining Yu without success, he suggested seeking Miss Joy's help. Okay, I'll go find Miss Joy right away. Serena was completely lost, her usual composure completely gone. Hearing Xiaoxu's words, she hurried out to invite Miss Joy in, completely oblivious to her current illness. Hey, Serena, wait a minute. You're still sick and need more rest. I'll go get her. Aya grabbed Serena, halting her steps. As if sensing Serena was about to say something, Aya didn't give her a chance to speak, already striding towards the door on her long, slender, white legs. Huh? But before she could take 2 steps, Aya's arm was suddenly grabbed by a calloused hand. Puzzled, she turned to look at the culprit. Yu, though still with his head bowed, couldn't clearly see his expression, but one of his hands was firmly grasping his son's arm, murmuring, "No, don't scream, don't scream. I'm fine, Yu, how are you? It's all my fault, it's all my fault, Yu, let's go to the hospital now." Yu, however, acted as if he hadn't heard her. He was, however, more lucid and spoke more fluently. I'm sorry, everyone. It's my fault, I didn't consider your feelings. Woo Yu, stop talking. We're not going to the hospital, whatever you say is what I say. Upon hearing Yu's words, the women erupted in excitement, then whispered softly, as if coaxing a child. The atmosphere was so harmonious and warm. But Yu's next words completely destroyed the atmosphere. Hey, what's wrong with you guys? Why do you make it seem like we're parting forever? Please collect, recommend, and give me 5-star praise. I hope everyone can give me more comments and suggestions. Whether good or bad, these are the motivation for me to write. Chapter 152 Hidden Truth. Ugh, at that moment, the entire room was eerily quiet, a pin drop audible. Yu's forced, somewhat bewildered smile remained, the only sound remaining. Serena, Aya, and Xiaoxu practically wanted to strangle Yu to death. What kind of person was this? What? Such a wonderful atmosphere, and they said it was ruined. How inconsiderate. He still didn't have a girlfriend. The 3 women internally raged with indignation, but when they recalled what had just happened, they didn't show it. Ignoring Yu's still slightly surprised expression, the women gathered around him again, their concern swirling. Yu, what happened to you just now? You scared us. Yeah. We thought you were sick too, and we're about to take you to the hospital. I'm fine. It's not as serious as you think. I was just trying to break through my own mindset and gain some insights. It might even help improve my own strength, Yu said with his signature grin, urging the women not to worry. At the same time, he sighed inwardly. He had indeed been breaking through his state of mind, but he had also nearly lost himself. If it weren't for Aya and the other girls calling out to him, the consequences would have been truly disastrous, Yu thought to himself with relief. Really? How are you feeling now? Or should I go get Miss Joy to take a look? Aya asked uncertainly. Yes. If Yu isn't feeling well, we can go see a doctor, Serena chimed in. I think you should go to the hospital. This time, even Xiaoxu offered some advice. It's really okay. You don't have to worry. And why go to the hospital? You forget, I'm a doctor myself. Yu smiled and shook his head in denial. Well, it's really okay. I feel better than ever. Except, Aya was about to say something else, but was interrupted by Yu. What? Nothing, just look. He stood up and began stretching in his room, doing front flips, back flips, 360-degree spins, and jumps. It looks like you're truly alright, Yu. That's why we're relieved. Aya patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Touched by the women's concerned gazes, Yu continued, Alright. Now that everything's alright, you should get some rest, especially Serena, since you're still sick. I know. You too. Hearing Yu's concern, Serena smiled sweetly. Well, you should get some rest too. If anything happens, remember to tell us. Aya didn't mention the previous incident. Understood. I won't be shy with you. Yu smiled and gave an okay sign. Hey, Yu, what else do you want? Xiaoxu asked curiously as Yu approached the door, placed his hand on the doorknob, and hesitated to turn it. Yu pursed his lips, and after a moment of silence with his back to the woman, he turned around with a serious expression and said solemnly, I'm sorry, everyone. I was only thinking about my own thoughts before. And I made you worry about me. From now on, I won't do that again. No matter what happens, we will face it together. I promise here, otherwise I will go to the bathroom without toilet paper, eat instant noodles without seasoning packets, and choke on cold water. Puff. The three women were originally moved by Yu Yu's solemn words and serious expression at the beginning, but the more they heard Yu Yu's somewhat biased promises, the more they laughed out loud. But this also made them put their worries at ease a little. Good night, everyone, good night. Regional dividing line, China, somewhere in the Xianshan Mountains. The night was utterly silent, a sky filled with a sea of stars. A few large, bright stars hung in the night sky, like a pair of mischievous eyes, twinkling and glimmering, as if quietly observing the scenes beneath. The forests of the Xianshan Mountains were deserted at night. The Pokémon, after a busy day, had long since returned to their lairs to rest. Only the night owls and hoots remained, soaring freely through the dark forest like guardians. In some empty spots, wherever they could see, ghost-type Pokémon emerged, one by one. Of course, there were also some bug-type Pokémon, playing a piece of nature's music in the silent night. Somewhere in the forest, unlike the rest of the forest, the overgrown weeds and dense branches blocked out the moonlight. It was like a fairyland. Illuminated by the moonlight, a manor built entirely of wood stood there. Clusters of flowers adorned the surroundings, their fragrance wafting in the occasional breeze. Not far away, one could even hear the gurgling sound of water. It was a waterfall, illuminated by the moonlight, resembling the pouring Milky Way, a truly magnificent sight. Within the manor, in a courtyard, unlike the others, this one boasted a swing woven from flowers, and the railings outside the rooms were adorned with woven flowers. This made it immediately apparent that this was the courtyard where the girls lived. The lights were still on in the room, and through the window, two figures could be vaguely seen. If you were here, his expression would surely change, and he would point and exclaim in surprise, "Senior sister, Zuner." These two were none other than Li Zuner and Chen Kailin, Yu Yu's closest friends. "Kailin, what do you think Yu Yu is doing now?" "I don't know, Alice. Ever since Yu Yu left the Chinese martial arts world to pursue his dreams, I haven't heard from him in ages. I don't know how he's doing now." Li Zuner frowned slightly, looking at Chen Kailin sitting across from her, and asked with a hint of melancholy. "What I'm concerned about now is whether he will forgive us for what we did to him before." Chen Kailin also frowned, her tone a little melancholy. After hearing her words, Li Zuner fell silent for a moment, finally saying weakly, "Probably not. After all, we were forced to do it back then. We were so weak back then. The main thing is, he doesn't know. He was still young, and Master Zhao later sent him to an island country to study Pokemon with his friend Professor Oak. That lasted 2 years. Although he returned to the Chinese martial arts world for the next 4 years because of Master Zhao to participate in the Fengyang martial arts tournament, but Chen Kailin fell silent. Chapter 153 Secrets. Alice, Li Zuner sighed as if she was helpless inside with emotion, and took over Chen Kailin's words, and continued, "But during this period, our respective forces were still in the development stage, and were far from reaching the point where we can compete with those behemoths now. Therefore, although we can always know Yu Yu's movements, in order to consider the overall situation, we have to forcibly suppress the urge to look for him." At this point, Li Zuner's tone became a little low. Seeing that the atmosphere in the room was about to fall silent, Li Zuner suddenly asked again, but then again, "Sister Kailin, why did that person target Yu Yu so much and even forced him to go abroad?" "I'm not too sure about this. It seems that it is said to be related to Yu Yu's life experience." "Yu Yu's life experience?" Li Zuner was stunned, and then hesitantly said, "What other life experience does Yu Yu have? Isn't he an orphan? Wasn't it by chance that he was brought back to Xianshan by Master Zhao and accepted as a disciple?" "I don't know about this either. I asked the master before, and he only told me, when he was traveling, he saw people being chased by the martial arts world on the way. The fighting on both sides was very tragic. He even found a baby in swaddling clothes among the people being hunted. Then the master, who had a bad temper and a strong sense of justice, naturally couldn't bear it and helped. But in the end, although the master joined them, in the end, only he and the baby were left." Chen Kailin narrated in detail, as if she was talking about something she had experienced. Li Zuner was also listening intently, but her delicate brows furrowed further as she heard the following words, "That baby must be Yu Yu?" "Right, you're right. It seems Yu Yu's identity isn't as simple as we thought. That's true, but the most important thing for us right now is to develop our own family. Then we'll have the confidence to go find you. No matter what they do to us, we'll stay by his side." Chen Kalin's eyes were filled with determination. That being said, the Yang and Du families have been making small moves lately, so what? They're not the most powerful of the 18 Chinese families. Besides, our family is also experiencing rapid growth. And with the 18 families' hidden checks and balances, the other families won't sit idly by. Alice. The 18 Chinese families? I wonder when we'll finally be ranked in the top 10, Li Zuner sighed with a hint of melancholy. Speaking of the 18 Chinese families, it's important to mention some secrets unknown to the average person, known only to those with long-standing family traditions. It's said that long ago, before the creation of such magical creatures as Pokémon, humans already engaged in primitive warfare, attacking and destroying one another. During that period, the ancient nation of China, steeped in history, was already home to numerous clans and sects. Ideological struggles within these sects gave rise to 100 schools of thought. As time passed, more and more declining clans and sects were eliminated from the long river of history. Time slipped by unnoticed, and at some unknown moment, a sudden and drastic shift occurred in the world. Mysterious dimensions quietly opened up across the world, creating a warped landscape of space and time, visible in the vast skies, lush forests, boundless oceans, glaciers of the far north, sun-scorched deserts, and bustling cities. From this point on, the world was no longer at peace. A race called Warcraft had emerged into human life. From the initial panic, nations around the world mobilized their forces to eradicate these unknown alien species. This marked the beginning of the first war between humanity and Warcraft. Initially, humanity relied on their weapons and steeds to dominate the Warcraft. However, as time passed and more Warcraft descended upon the world, this advantage was soon shattered. Among these Warcraft were some highly aggressive individuals, some even capable of mastering elemental powers. Meanwhile, some were friendly to humans, disliking or even avoiding combat. As these powerful Warcraft descended, humanity's organized forces were quickly shattered. The first battle between humanity and Warcraft ended abruptly. But humanity did not give up. Through this first war, humanity gained a new understanding of Warcraft, and some even developed ulterior motives towards them. As the saying goes, heroes emerge in troubled times. Thanks to the impact of the Warcraft incident, more and more previously unknown organizations and powerful forces emerged across the world. Among them, the warriors were the most mysterious and powerful. Some of the most formidable could even battle the magic beasts one-on-one, or even two-on-one. Consequently, humanity, leveraging the warriors' strength, once again assembled the most powerful force ever, intent on completely expelling the alien magic beasts. Initially, the battle was similar to the previous one, and even more successful. Just when humanity saw hope, believing they had completely eradicated them, tragedy struck again. The spatial hole, thought to have ceased functioning, suddenly began to function again, and this time, the creatures that emerged were no longer the small, insignificant creatures of the past. The magic beasts that emerged this time, upon their appearance, were as relentless as autumn winds sweeping away fallen leaves, suppressing the warriors one by one. Indeed, they were suppressing. As a result, some gave these magic beasts a new name, divine beasts. Seeing the situation threatened to be disrupted, some of the peerless masters who had been cultivating in seclusion could no longer remain silent and emerged one by one to engage the divine beasts in a decisive battle on an island. Although they still didn't have the upper hand, thanks to their superior numbers, the powerful weapons they wielded, and the aid of their spirit beasts, they were able to fight the beasts to a draw. Note, spirit beasts here refer to ordinary animals with spiritual abilities. While the beasts were formidable, their stamina eventually wore out. Over the course of several days, both humans and the demon beasts suffered heavy casualties. Over half of the human warriors were dead or wounded, and the beasts fared no better. The already scarce numbers of the beasts were suddenly reduced by a third. Chapter 154 The Mysterious Warcraft. It was just right, the two sides were deadlocked. But after all, humans were highly intelligent creatures. Well, although I don't know what level the magic beasts were, generally speaking, humans were still more intelligent. Due to mutual concerns, after a few days of fruitless confrontation, humans, cunning, oh no. It was the clever humans who thought of using large siege engines and large hunting equipment to deal with the magic beasts and the mythical beasts. With the addition of these giants, the mythical beasts suddenly found it difficult to move forward. They had to deal with a group of masters while also guarding against sneak attacks from the equipment. They were in a state of panic. Even if the equipment was destroyed, humans could quickly rebuild it. Faced with the continuous fierce attacks and the martial arts masters who fought with human waves, the mythical beasts were suppressed, but they were no pushovers. Thoroughly enraged, the divine beasts fought even more frantically, each one engaging in a relentless, reckless fight. Some even brought their own companions down due to the intensity of the battle. The battle was brutal. While not a vast expanse of blood and corpses, the once connected landmass was ripped apart by the conflict, giving rise to the 7 continents and 4 oceans that would later become the worlds of the 7 continents and 4 oceans. Note, this is a parallel universe in the anime, not the original real world, and the depiction is a self-made history. For the duration of that war, the world was utterly dark, filled with only roars and wails, and raging fires blazed across the land, giving the impression that the war would never extinguish. An incalculable amount of time passed. In the world illuminated by the flames, enveloped by the roars and wails, the passage of time seemed to vanish, leaving only an eternity. Time flowed like water, and before one knew it, the passage of time had passed. Finally, as the final voice fell, the flames scorching the earth died, and the world was plunged into complete darkness. Rain pattered from the sky, the wind roared, and the tsunami surged, as if the very universe itself were wailing and weeping for the sacrifices of this war. A strange phenomena unfolded across the heavens and earth. Humanity finally seemed to realize something, but it was too late. Just as panic spread like a virus, and humanity was on the verge of complete despair, a single glimmer of light suddenly appeared above the pitch-black world. Then, like sparks, more and more points of light appeared around it, gradually converging to form a large hole. Upon seeing that hole, the light that had once shone in the human eyes, a glimmer of hope, gradually faded, replaced by wariness and disgust. If the space where the monster appeared had remained intact at this moment, they would surely cry out in terror, for this luminous hole was almost identical to those holes in time and space. However, compared to the blackness of the other spatial holes, this one was bathed in golden light. As everyone watched with anticipation and anxiety, the golden spatial hole finally stirred. A white creature, resembling a horse, a unicorn, or a centaur, appeared. Its torso, mane, tail, and dark areas of its face were outlined by gray vertical stripes, and its 4 pointed feet were tipped with golden hooves. Its mane rose high from its head, its face was gray, and it had green eyes with red pupils. Surrounded by green circular patterns, a monster beast burst out of the hole. Once it emerged, the surrounding light revealed its true form. It was surprisingly twice the size of the mythical beasts. A golden pattern was visible on its head, and its ears were erected. Its neck had 2 protrusions on either side. On the dark side of its neck were gill-like features, the same color as the majority of its body. A cross-shaped wheel, connected to its body at its abdomen, changed color, along with its eyes and hooves, depending on the attributes of the stone tablet held by this demon beast. 4 gems were embedded in the wheel. What kind of demon beast is this? I've never seen one before. It feels like it's even more powerful than those mythical beasts. Could this be some new mythical beast? Everyone who saw it discussed it. Their eyes and words were filled with fear, to varying degrees. Hey! Whoever it is, let's catch it first. Charge, go! Someone shouted first, and the crowd erupted in fury. Some manipulated siege engines, some threw their weapons, and some simply threw rocks. Their goal was remarkably consistent, to bring down the glowing monster, rather, the divine beast. Bang, 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 then a miraculous scene unfolded. The objects originally thrown at the monster suddenly fell to the ground while still some distance away, as if an invisible wall had blocked all the attacks. The objects even made a crisp sound like physical objects colliding. How is this possible? Before anyone could recover from their shock, a sudden voice echoed through everyone's minds. Humans! You are truly tactless. Even now, you still refuse to repent. Do you really think we can't do anything to you? Who is that? Who's speaking? Are you talking to me? The sudden voices ignited the crowd. Ignoring the clamor, the monster continued, I didn't mean to offend you. After all, you are the true protagonists of heaven and earth. But you've angered me. So, I'll teach you a lesson. As the words fell, 2 figures suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. 2 laws emanated from them, and the power of space and time enveloped the humans fighting at the forefront, even the so-called martial arts masters. The humans enveloped by this envelopment lost track of time. Some repeated the same task over and over, while others were as muddle-headed as fools. Even those with the strongest minds, such as martial arts masters, could achieve a calm and detached state, transcending the mundane. But they are still mortals after all, and they still cannot escape the control of time and the ravages of years. Compared with those ordinary people, some of them have even lost themselves. Chapter 155 The God of Creation. HMPH, with a cold snort, the crowd finally snapped out of their self-absorption. HMPH. Consider this a lesson for you, the monster spoke again. This time, the crowd fell silent. It wasn't that they didn't want to speak, but they didn't dare. Some were practically losing their minds, going insane. They didn't want to go through this again. The previous experience was simply unbearable for a human. Then, ignoring the crowd, he fixed his gaze on the group of divine beasts. Hey! Ho-Oh, Lugia, Groudon, and Kyogre. I didn't expect even these higher-ranking warriors like you to be injured. It seems you underestimated those humans. As soon as he finished speaking, invisible forces lifted the fallen divine beasts. Once they were suspended in the air, a healing light shone down upon them. What is this? Ah! It feels so good. While most of the light shone on the divine beasts, some leaked out and illuminated the equally wounded humans. Suddenly, the wounds on the human's body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. A few breaths later. Thank you, Arceus. The divine beasts recovered and thanked the divine beast named Arceus one by one. Arceus nodded slightly, looking like the boss among the divine beasts. Human, can we talk now? What to talk about? Someone in the crowd, who was not sure if they were brave enough, asked Arceus back. Arceus did not get angry and spoke again. We don't want war, we only want peace. You humans should not be so greedy. We can coexist peacefully. Otherwise, if this continues, it will not benefit you and us. The crowd below began to make noise again. Humph, Arceus snorted coldly, seeming very unhappy about this. You human warriors must not harm us maliciously again. If you harm that warrior, you'll experience the same feeling you just had. To use your own words, if you harm that warrior's martial heart, you'll be unable to make any progress. At the very least, your cultivation will be completely destroyed, and at worst, you'll go insane and suffer severed tendons and severance. Don't think I'm exaggerating, you can give it a try. Arceus' words were filled with dominance, brooking no argument. Hearing these words, the people were instantly filled with anger. They wanted to resist, but they were afraid of the strange forces of space and time. They could only hold their anger in silence, calculating their own plans. Oh, yes. By the way, let me introduce you to two friends. Arceus' voice, so terrifying to everyone, echoed in their hearts once again. Come out. God of Time, Dialga, and God of Space, Palkia. As Arceus' voice fell, the space behind him violently rippled, revealing two enormous beings. Diapalu. Unlike Palkia, Dialga's appearance bears some resemblance to Arceus. Dialga is a dark blue sauropod dinosaur with metallic parts and several light blue stripes. Its head features a square pyramidal protrusion, with light blue stripes extending from the tip to Dialga's neck. It has two horns, one on each side of its body, extending downward to a protrusion above its eyes, and the other extending all the way to its mouth. The metallic section on its chest, like its natural breastplate, is centered with a cobalt blue pentagonal diamond. Dialga's neck is crowned by 3 silver-white spines, and its back is covered in a fish scale-like structure with 5 spikes. It has a single tail and 4 legs, each with 3 metal claws, giving it a formidable appearance. Palkia, on the other hand, is a pale purple theropod-like mythical beast with purple-black stripes and gray inner arms. On its shoulders grew discs adorned with purple stripes, each embedded with a pearl, each surrounded by a gray ring. Palkia's arms had elongated structures resembling metal gauntlets, with a purple band on each wrist. Palkia had a long neck, crowned by a pointed crest that extended into its wings, 2 ivory horns beside its beak, and a thick tail. Remember the unique aura these warriors exude. If they dare to harm you, you will understand, Arceus commanded. Then, as if reflecting on something, his voice echoed, oh, right. After all this time, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Arceus, but you can also call me the Creator God. With these words, the warrior world established a treaty known as the Peace Agreement. From then on, Humans and magic beasts lived side by side, and magic beasts became an inseparable part of the world. As a result, over time, an organization called the Pokémon League was established, with members representing nations around the world. The Pokémon League assumed global leadership, and it was during this period that magical creatures were officially referred to as Pokémon. Along with the birth of the name Pokémon, numerous professions emerged, including trainer, researcher, breeder, and other common professions, as well as numerous other professions centered around Pokémon. Humans, as intelligent creatures, quickly adapted to the Pokémon species and invented the Pokéball. Using the Pokéball as a medium, trainers could deepen their connections with Pokémon and easily capture them. Through Pokémon, trainers battled with other trainers, gaining friendships and insights. Speaking of trainers, another profession is indispensable, the Pokémon researcher. Through constant study of Pokémon, it was discovered that nearly every Pokémon species possesses an attribute. These attributes are categorized into 18 types: water, normal, fire, flying, bug, grass, steel, fighting, earth, poison, electric, rock, ice, dragon, dark, psychic, fairy, and ghost. This is what Chen Kalin and Li Zuner were discussing, China's current 18 families or sects. Each family and sect represents a specific attribute. The forces behind Li Zuner and Chen Kalin represent the electricity and fire elements. Yuyu's master, Zhao Kuang, represents the water element. Over time, some families have risen and fallen, while others have fallen into disrepair. Currently, China's 18 families and sects are ranked by strength. This ranking is based on the family's current combat power and heritage. For various reasons, the electricity, water, and fire elements rank only in the middle to lower tiers among the 18. The top 10 forces are led by the dragon element, followed by the ice element, and then the psychic element. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156 Retreat. Hey, Yuyu, come and eat. After that, we'll go to the gym tournament with you. The morning sun had just shone into the room through the window. The little arrow sparrow on the treetop had just stretched its wings and was ready to fly, and the little Rattata, who had appeared from nowhere, was just about to start its day's journey to find food. Serena's energetic voice passed through the window and rang out in the backyard of the Pokémon Center. She didn't push open the door of Yuyu's room, because she knew that Yuyu must be training with Pokémon in the backyard of the Pokémon Center at this time. Backyard. Perhaps because of what happened last night, Yuyu smiled a lot more now. He used to have a stern face during special training, but today, Pikachu and the others could see the corners of his mouth slightly upturned from time to time. Gyarados, Boss Pikachu, what's wrong with Master today? He seems a little different from the previous Masters. Rocket, yeah, he's still laughing, feeling a little silly. Pikachu, I don't know either. Okay, no more whispering during the special training, or by the time Master reacts, you'll be in big trouble. Pikachu, as expected of the Pokémon's leader, immediately fell silent as he spoke, and the other Pokémon obediently resumed their special training. Yuyu was unaware of the Pokémon's discussion. At this moment, he was in an open space not far away, brandishing his Yakko. Each move was powerful and sweeping, fierce yet gentle, and the Yakko was wielded with great force. But as time went on, Yuyu's spear movement began to slow. Even an expert observer would have noticed a slight sluggishness in his technique. Ignoring Serena's calls, Yuyu poured his heart and soul into his spearmanship, starting with the first move, meticulously examining each one, determined to pinpoint the problem. However, half a quarter of an hour passed, and Yuyu still hadn't discovered the flaw in his spearmanship. A thin layer of sweat had already formed on his forehead. Damn it! What's the problem? Or is it, Yuyu, stop practicing now. Come to dinner. You have to challenge the Meyer Gym later, don't you? Pikachu and the others won't dare come unless you come. Serena's voice echoed again, interrupting Yuyu's musings. In fact, Serena had called out to Yuyu 3 or 4 times in the past half quarter of an hour, but he was so engrossed that he didn't hear. Glancing up at the rising sun overhead, Yuyu finally came to his senses. He responded instinctively, letting out a long, stagnant breath. Okay, everyone, that's all for today's training. come with me to breakfast, he called the Pokemon who were still training hard, waiting for his next order. 1 person and 7 pets rushed to the Pokemon Center's cafeteria. Looking at Yu who was wolfing down his food across from him, and then looking at his Pokemon, Air couldn't help but chuckle and sighed. It's true that like Master, like Pokemon, Pichu Xiaoxu, who was sitting next to him, covered her mouth and chuckled. Hey! Why aren't you eating? Xiaoxu's cooking is really delicious. Yu, confused, finally moved his eyes away from the bowl and looked at the 3 women with smiles on their faces. Thank you for the compliment. Xiaoxu was very happy. This was Yu's affirmation of her cooking skills. We're going to have a gym match soon. Yu, have you decided who you're going to send? Serena asked curiously. Whenever Yu challenged for a gym match, she would ask, eagerly anticipating what Pokemon he'd send out and what kind of exciting battle he'd bring. Yu took a mouthful of rice, chewed it vigorously, and swallowed it. Then, to the surprise of the 3 women, he said, well, that's not your style. I haven't thought about it yet. The 3 women exclaimed in unison. Yu, that's not like you. Normally, you wouldn't have prepared so early, then just say something and let us guess, Air said. Serena and Xiaoxu nodded in agreement. That? I'm planning on going in a few days. Why? Don't you usually become so enthusiastic and motivated after just 1 day of fighting? This time, Serena asked first, puzzled. As he ate, seeing the girls seem to be nagging about the same issue, Yu decided to tell them the truth. I just seem to have had a bottleneck in my training. I'm planning to find a quiet place to practice and gain insights for a few days. Is that so? Having experienced many things with Yu, Air naturally knew a lot about warriors. Seeing that Yu had said so, she didn't ask any more questions. Seeing Air's silence, Serena and Xiaoxu, who had been with her for a while, also tacitly stopped asking questions and simply enjoyed the breakfast. I'll go tell Citron later, so I'll leave Pikachu and the others in your care for the next few days. Yu paused his meal and placed all his Pokeballs on the table. I'll leave the Pokemon in your care. With their current strength, they can protect you in a critical moment. Well, leave it to us. The 3 girls immediately divided Yu's Pokeballs equally. Yu's eye twitched, but he said nothing, simply eating faster. It's worth noting that Yu didn't give Suicune's Pokeball to the 3 women. It wasn't because he didn't trust them, but rather because the saying goes, a man is innocent but he is guilty of possessing a treasure. After finishing his meal, Yu gave Pikachu and the others a few words before going to Miss Joy to find a quieter room. In the dining room, the women watched Yu leave without any hurry, chewing their breakfast slowly and excitedly discussing their meal. That's great. We can stay in Mire City for a few more days. We finally don't have to sleep in the open and worry about not having hot water for a shower. Yeah, after all, it's a trip, and we have to rush every day. Let's take advantage of Yu's retreat to relax. I agree. We have nothing to do anyway. Why don't we go shopping together today? Okay. After shopping, we'll go to Mimi to take a hot spring bath. I heard that there is a hot spring hotel in Mire City, and the conditions there are very good. Since no one objects, then we have decided it this way. Let's finish eating quickly and get ready. Chapter 157 Strange Girl. Mire City is truly a representative city of the Kalos region. Even in the daytime, it's bustling with activity. The streets are bustling with men and women in athletic gear, taking their precious belongings for a morning run. Housewives, accompanied by their little helpers, can be seen browsing the market for their daily groceries. Perhaps because it's Monday, many students in school uniforms are strolling the streets. From time to time, one can spot a playful child or two, chasing after wild and domesticated Pokemon, their innocent laughter echoing. After finishing breakfast and getting dressed, the 3 girls left the Pokemon Center and walked along the spacious, clean streets, watching the morning unfold in the city. They felt a surge of relaxation they'd never experienced before. Wow, this is the morning air. So fresh and comfortable, Serena said, her arms wide open, as if embracing the world. Let me see where we should go next. Air scanned the city map, clutching it. This is it. I heard there's a shop nearby that sells ice cream shipped from Xiaoyan City. Really? I heard the ice cream from Xiaoyan City is incredibly delicious. When it comes to desserts like ice cream, there's hardly a girl who doesn't like it, not even the more mature Xiaoxu. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Air was the first to run out. Xiaoyan Ice Cream Shop. It's located on a busy street in Mire City. Known for its delicious and healthy ice cream, long lines form here almost every day. Even though the shop had just opened, it was already packed with people, mostly women. Seeing the long line that stretched out to the store's entrance, filling half the street, Serena, who had just arrived, was stunned. They'd assumed the early bird catches the worm, so they'd been strolling along the way, enjoying the scenery. But they hadn't expected. What should we do? There are so many people. I don't know how long we'll have to wait. There's nothing we can do. To enjoy the incredibly delicious Xiaoyan ice cream, we have no choice but to wait. We still have some time. Yeah. Serena's right. Wouldn't it be wonderful to eat Xiaoyan ice cream while shopping? PFFT. How come you're just like you? Serena and Xiaoxu chuckled. Amidst their laughter, the three girls joined a long line for ice cream. The sun was slowly moving upwards, its rays growing brighter and hotter. So slow, Serena said, fanning herself with a lucky egg-shaped fan she'd found somewhere. It's almost there. There are only a few people ahead. You just have to wait a little longer, Xiaoxu soothed. Seeing the line move forward a bit, hurriedly pulled Serena forward to catch up. As time passed, the number of people in front of Serena and her group dwindled, and they were only a few more away from their turn. Next, welcome back. As they edged closer, they could gradually hear the waiter's voice emanating from the shop ahead. Amidst the waiter's calls, there was finally only one customer left in front of Serena and the other two. Great! It's finally our turn, Serena cheered softly from behind. Great! We'll be able to enjoy some delicious Xiaoyan ice cream soon. As expected, the allure of delicious food is endless, and Air's pretty face lit up with discontent. But it was true. 1 minute passed, 2, 3. Serena and the others' initial excitement morphed into a look of stunned frustration. Their hearts shattered. They saw the customer in front of Serena, and the line froze. It was like when you desperately want something, you're just one step away from it, only to be suddenly blocked off by a wall of glass. Isn't that a tough feeling, seeing it but not being able to touch it? What's going on? Why isn't the line moving? Could something have happened? The customers at the back, unaware of what was happening up ahead, began to whisper behind them when they saw the line stop. Those at the back couldn't see clearly, but the three women at the front could see it all. In front of them stood a tall, slender woman with long, wavy blonde hair. She wore a blue casual shirt, black jeans, and black high-heeled sandals. Even though she could only see from behind, she could tell she had a powerful aura. Such a lady, however, now rested her index finger on her delicate lower lip, her beautiful eyes scanning the various ice cream flavors before her with a perplexed look, looking utterly adorable. Looking at the pretty, focused girl before him, the male clerk was practically furious. Though he hated to disturb her, he spoke out of professionalism. Excuse me, miss, have you made up your mind? If you haven't, let me recommend a few. The strawberry and matcha flavors are both quite delicious. If that's still a problem, there's also the milk-infused flavor, or you can go for a double-flavored option for an even better, more refreshing taste. True to his trained skills, he chattered non-stop. Oh, the girl murmured subconsciously, not even looking up, her gaze fixed on the ice cream, as if it were more appealing than the clerk's description. The clerk was utterly embarrassed. He'd been talking for ages, but the girl hadn't heard a single word. That's a double-strength attack. Xiaoxu, standing in the back, suddenly uttered a soft "huh." She peered past Serena and Air's backs, examining the girl with curiosity. What's wrong? Xiaoxu, Air, standing in front of her, asked with concern, noticing Xiaoxu's unusual behavior. Nothing, I just felt that the girl in front of me looked familiar. I feel like I've seen her somewhere before, but I can't quite place where. Xiaoxu's brows furrowed, as if she were straining to recall something. So, that girl is most likely a friend of Xiaoxu's, or someone she knows, Serena chimed in, her voice tinged with joy. Chapter 158 Champion. Looking at the girl still selecting ice cream ahead of her, Serena seemed unable to bear watching, yet also seemed to genuinely want to enjoy some delicious Xiaoyan ice cream sooner rather than later. Finally, mustering up the courage, she gently poked the girl's back with her finger. When she came to her senses and turned to look at her in confusion, Serena took 2 steps forward, standing beside her and pointing to one of the flavors. I heard the matcha flavor is quite good, but I personally prefer the big milk and fresh milk flavor. So, I suggest you order a 2-flavor combo, miss. Yes. I think what you say makes sense. Then, take the 2-flavor combo. This time, the girl actually listened to Serena's words. After a moment's thought, she decided to accept her suggestion. Are you Miss Serena? Xiaoxu asked the girl. Just when the girl turned her head, Xiaoxu finally saw her face clearly, but because she was very good at turning back, her words were a little uncertain. Who are you? The girl paid and took the ice cream handed to her by the waiter, licking it with her pink tongue like a meow, revealing a happy and satisfied face. After thanking Serena and preparing to leave, she heard someone calling her from behind. The girl paused slightly and turned her head in confusion to look in the direction of the voice. What a coincidence, isn't this Xiaoxu? Ah, it's you, Miss Serena. Long time no see, how come you are here? After licking the ice cream, the girl named Serena chuckled. Long time no see, Xiaoxu. Have you forgotten what my job is? I almost forgot, you are an archaeologist. You wouldn't come all the way to the Kalos region just for archaeology, how is that possible? And there's ice cream, Serena chuckled. Xiaoxu, this ice cream is for you. Since I'm not sure what flavor you like, I ordered the same big milk flavor as mine. Serena, who was at the front of the line, held an ice cream cone in each hand and offered one to Xiaoxu, who was chatting with a girl named Serena. Air followed behind her, and the 4 women marched out of the ice cream shop in a mighty procession, attracting the attention of many passers-by. At first glance, wow! 4 stunningly beautiful young figures, some mature, some lively, some cute, each with their own unique charm. Some men, who were out shopping or jogging with their girlfriends, were practically paralyzed by the sight, their feet rooted to the ground, their gazes following their movements. Even more dramatic, a male trainer, who had been out for a walk with Delimia, overreached and bumped into a utility pole. This infuriated the women around the men, some of them, furious at their lack of resistance, resorting to a uniquely feminine technique, pinching and pulling the ears. Ouch, it hurts, honey, please stop, gentle, my ears are going to fall off, I won't do that again. Suddenly, screams rang out. Walking along the wide street, listening to the occasional scolding, screams, and pleas for mercy, the women ate ice cream and engaged in banter. It's true that women are truly amazing creatures. With just a topic, they can become close friends who can talk about anything. Air, Serena, and Serena were a perfect example, chatting and laughing along the way. Excuse me, how did Serena and Xiaoxu meet? Serena had wanted to ask for a while, but since they weren't familiar with each other, she had to wait until now to raise her question. Air also leaned over curiously, clearly interested in the question. Xiaoxu looked at Serena, who was still absorbed in her ice cream. Seeing Xiaoxu's gaze, Serena tilted her head, a smile on her face. Don't look at me. It's not some hidden secret, you're such a fool. Xiaoxu rolled her eyes at her and licked her ice cream. Then she said, perhaps you don't know yet? Miss Serena is more than just an archaeologist. She's also the Sinnoh champion. Some say her skills are on par with Miss Karuna, the Kalos champion. Some curious trainers even call them the 2 blooming flowers of the Pokémon League. 2 exclamations echoed simultaneously, with Air and Serena's mouths slightly open. Miss Serena is actually the Sinnoh champion, it's unbelievable, you're too loud. Seeing everyone around her looking at her, Xiaoxu was frightened and quickly raised her index finger to her lips to muffle her voice. Sorry, only then did Air and Serena realize that they were a little too excited, and hurriedly smiled apologetically towards the crowd around them. The 2 girls would never have thought that this lady who had a silly and tangled expression on her face while eating ice cream just now would actually be the Sinnoh champion, who is as famous as Karuna. You know what a champion is, that is the representative of a region with the highest combat power after many battles, no doubt about it. Why don't I look like one? Serena said, licking the ice cream in her hand twice and chuckling. It's just a little unexpected. I didn't expect that we could go shopping with the Sinnoh champion. Air also covered her mouth and chuckled. What's the big deal? I said you also go shopping and travel with other champions. Would you be more surprised? After that, Serena licked the ice cream a few more times, her expression looking very calm. However, Serena was no longer calm. She even forgot to lick the ice cream that was just brought to her mouth. Her pretty face was a little dazed, and she almost screamed out again, the other champion? Are you talking about Miss Karonori, the champion of the Kalos region? I didn't expect that you actually knew this guy Karonori, This time it was Serena's turn to be surprised, and then, apart from eating ice cream, she rarely showed a playful expression. But the champion I'm talking about is not her. Then who is it? Now even Air was curious. Guess. Air and Serena looked at each other tacitly, and then turned their heads to look at Xiaoxu, exclaiming, "No way. Xiaoxu is also a champion?" "I remember Xiaoxu, you said before that you are from the Kanto region, so don't tell me you are the champion of the Kanto region." Chapter 159 Pokemon Doll. Seeing Serena and Air both losing their composure, Xiaoxu was stunned, momentarily forgetting to answer. Bingo. Your guess is correct, but also incorrect. Xiaoxu can indeed be considered the Kanto Regional Champion, but her title isn't the Pokemon League Championship. It's the Kanto Regional Pokemon Breeder Championship. Sharona formed a gun shape with one hand. Xiaoxu, you're amazing. You're so talented. Serena's words were tinged with admiration. She was just a fledgling trainer, and yet someone else had already won the title. How could she not admire him? After the initial surprise, Air quickly calmed down and thought to herself, champion? Everyone is so outstanding. It seems that I have to work harder too. I must win the championship in this Triple Crown Satellite Tournament and become the Queen of Kalos. Xiaoxu felt embarrassed at first when being looked at by everyone, but seeing Sharona eating the ice cream with relish again, she could only continue what she said. The reason why Sharona and I know each other is that the night before her championship competition, she asked me, who was training in the Sinnoh region at the time, to help her take care of her Pokemon. After that, whenever she was going to fight those king-level trainers, she would ask me to help her take care of her Pokemon in advance, and over time we became familiar with each other. It is worth mentioning that there are differences between these champions. Obviously, the recognized champion status of the Pokemon League like Sharona can be said to be the highest. After all, the champion of each region is the face and guardian of that region. Suddenly, Air chuckled softly, as if on cue. That sweet smile was so dazzling that it almost dimmed the entire world. It's such a shame you didn't come with us, though. If he knew we'd actually met Sinnoh champion Sharona, he'd be envious. Yeah, with his battle-crazed personality, he'd probably cry with envy. Serena chimed in. Thinking of you beating his chest in envy, Xiaoxu remained somewhat composed. It can't be helped. Who told you to go into seclusion? Who is you? One of your companions, Sharona, watching the three women beside her, giggling wildly, paused from her ice cream and asked curiously. Yes, Yu is traveling with us, and he's the only male among us, Xiaoxu introduced. Yu is amazing. He's a Chinese man with impressive medical and martial arts skills. Even Pokemon battles are no problem for him, Serena said, a hint of pride etched in her words, as if she were talking about herself. Medical and martial arts, Sharona's eyes flickered, her thoughts shimmering as she whispered to herself. Seeing her friend, lost in thought, not even eating her ice cream, Xiaoxu smiled faintly. Yu's Chinese medicine skills are truly remarkable. I've benefited greatly from traveling with him. Hearing you all mention it, I really want to meet this Chinese phenomenon right now and get to know him. I do. I'm sure you would be delighted, but not right now. He's in seclusion. The women continued strolling, chatting and laughing with one another. Look at that jewelry store. I've wanted to go there for a while, Serena pointed, quickly running towards the door. Hey, hurry up and catch up. I'm going in first. Waving to the girls who hadn't caught up yet, Serena walked in first. Let's go. I also want to see if there are any nice accessories I can wear with my Pokemon in my next performance. Air and the others followed closely. Upon entering the jewelry store, the girls' eyes lit up. The shop was very large, decorated in a predominantly gorilla pink hue. Along the wall, counters were filled with a variety of small items. There were bows, ribbons, Pokemon-style hairpins and brooches. Serena, like a butterfly fluttering joyfully among the flowers, flitted between the counters and shelves, occasionally letting out a sigh of admiration. Serena looks very happy, Air chuckled, picked up a papilio-shaped hairpin, and stood in front of the mirror, trying it on her head. Of course. After all, she's been living outdoors all the time, and she's had a cold these past couple of days, so she must be feeling suffocated. Unlike Air and Serena, Xiaoxu and Sharona weren't particularly interested in the accessories, simply wandering around. Suddenly, Sharona's eyes lit up, her steps stopping in their tracks, unable to look away. Sharona, what's wrong with you? Xiaoxu, walking beside her, noticed her friend's sudden stop and followed her gaze with a hint of surprise. Her eyes lit up, and she exclaimed, "Wow, I didn't expect there were dolls here. So cute." Sharona nodded repeatedly, like a young girl in love, and rushed over to pick up a doll shaped like a round land shark. "Doll? Where is it? Where is it?" Air and Serena rushed over at the sound. Birds of a feather flocked together, as it were. It's worth noting that the dolls in this jewelry store are scaled to the size of regular Pokémon. Therefore, they don't sell larger Pokémon dolls, which is why Serena and the others didn't spot it first. "Wow! This Firefox is so cute." Air, who dared to come, immediately picked up a Firefox doll and rubbed it against her cheek. Her eyes narrowed into crescents, a look of satisfaction on her face. "This Vulpix is cute too." Xiaoxu picked up a Vulpix doll and buried her head in its body. Seeing that everyone had their own goals, Serena, not wanting to be left behind, grabbed a Pokémon doll and held it in her arms, occasionally nuzzling against it, her face filled with happiness. However, as she grabbed the doll, Serena's hand suddenly paused, and she almost stumbled, but she didn't think much of it, thinking it was due to the exquisite workmanship. "Wow! The dolls here are so lifelike. Such soft fur, warm tails, and this, wait." Serena was very excited at first, but as she watched more, her expression changed. Chapter 160 Ibrahimovic. Suddenly, Serena's terrified, high-pitched scream filled the entire store. Serena's head stiffened slightly as she slowly lowered her head to the Pokémon she held in her arms, her delicate body trembling with fear. Suddenly, the Pokémon spoke strangely, making a series of cries. Terrified, Serena flung it out, and the high-pitched scream rang out again, nearly blowing the roof off. Passers-by outside the store covered their ears, their curious gazes peering through the faintly vibrating window. "Ghost!" Serena's teeth began to chatter with fear. She bit her delicate lower lip, tears welling in her large eyes. One can only say that a champion is worthy of being a champion. Even in the face of such a situation, Sharona remained so calm. Even while enjoying herself, she was able to clearly see the true appearance of the Pokémon. Serena's attention was instantly drawn. She wiped her tearful eyes, a big black question mark on her head, but her upturned nose continued to chuckle, making her look incredibly cute and endearing. That's it, Air had already pulled out a Pokédex and was searching for information on EV. An evolving Pokémon with unstable genetics that can suddenly mutate in its environment. The radiation emitted by the stone triggers evolution. The Pokédex's electronic synthesized voice chimed. That's a very rare Pokémon. I had one before, Sharona whispered, as if recalling something. Serena, you have EV. Can you let it out for us to see? Air was clearly curious about EV. Sure. But it's not convenient here. I'll show it to you after we get out, Sharona said readily. The commotion had just gone too far, and the owner of the jewelry store had arrived. Seeing Serena still a little shaken, she quickly apologized. I'm so sorry, customer. That kid isn't a bad person, just a bit mischievous. He likes to sneak in, mingle with the Pokémon figures, and scare customers. Is that Eevee a wild Pokémon? Yes, it just appeared in this generation within the last month. At first, we felt sorry for it, so we often gave it food. It became familiar with us and often came to play in our store, just like this time. In fact, things like today have happened no less than 5 times in the past month. The owner of the jewelry store smiled wryly and shook his head. Hey, you really are kind people. As a Pokémon breeder, Xiaoxia treated every Pokémon with the same care and tenderness as if they were her own children. It's okay. It's nothing, just a small favor. The owner of the jewelry store, a young man in his 20s or 30s, scratched his head and smirked sheepishly at the gentle and pretty Xiaoxia praising him. He then took out a ticket and handed it to Serena. That being said, I'm still sorry. We're giving you a 30% discount on everything you bought today. Thank you. Seeing the man's firm attitude, Serena couldn't refuse and simply accepted it. The owner chatted with the other women for a while, but seeing that she seemed anxious to make her purchase, he excused himself, saying he had other things to do. Okay. Let's get on with our selections. Perhaps haunted by the previous incident, Serena lost interest in the Pokémon figurines and, dragging her son along, headed straight for the sunglasses counter. Meanwhile, Sharona and Xiaoxia remained, lost in the gentle embrace of the Pokémon figurines. Unable to extricate themselves, Do you think these look good on me? Serena, standing before Air, asked, looking in the mirror and posing in various poses while wearing a pair of pink sunglasses. These are pretty good, they suit you very well, Air, also holding a pair of sunglasses, fiddled with them on her head. Then I'll go with this one. Serena made a quick decision and looked at Air. Air, have you chosen? Okay. Let's go see Xiaoxia and the others. Air also chose one she liked. The two of them quickly reunited with Xiaoxia and Sharona, who had each chosen a Pokemon plush, paid, and left the store. Serena, those sunglasses of yours are very cute, Xiaoxia remarked, watching Serena walk away, fiddling with hers. Serena smiled happily at her companion's compliment. Serena, still stroking her sunglasses, suddenly felt her vision blur. A petite brown figure leaped past, and her hand felt lighter. He looked again. Oh well. There was no sign of his eyes, and his hands were empty, nothing but air. Faced with this sudden change, the first to react was, of course, our champion, Serena. Her eyes fixed, and a Pokeball was already in her hand. Prepare for battle, Ice Spirit. Use Freezing Wind. With a flash of red light, a completely blue Pokemon, its skin covered in sharp thorns, appeared before everyone. It looked like it was wearing a double-layered braided hat to keep out the cold. Chapter 161 Iself. Faced with this sudden scene, Sharona, unconcerned with the street, hurriedly issued orders, hoping to stop the EV. A biting gust of cold wind, summoned by the Ice Spirit, blew towards the still agile EV. Facing the champion Pokemon, the EV proved quite capable, maintaining a vigilant eye even as it ran. Seeing the freezing wind approaching at a rapid speed, the EV quickly executed a drift and stopped its sprint. Simultaneously, a green energy shield, centered on the EV, enveloped it in a hemispherical shape. Ice Spirit, use Freeze Beam to restrain the EV. Unlike Sharona before, in a Pokemon battle, Sharona gave her all, regardless of whether the opponent's top 4 was weak or not, whether it was a real fight or a fake one. Sharona was now filled with seriousness and composure, a sharp glint in her beautiful eyes, as if she could always predict her opponent's next move. She had lost all her cute, innocent look, choosing ice cream flavors at the ice cream shop, and none of her girlish side, clutching her Pokemon. Her battles were defined by her decisiveness. Wow! What kind of Pokemon is this? It's so beautiful. Serena's eyes sparkled. Even her usually more mature daughter was moved by this sentiment. She was eager to capture one immediately, train with it for a performance, and bask in the stage lights together. Let me see. Serena exemplified the novice trainer's habit of using the Pokédex to research unknown Pokemon. Glacier, the new snow Pokemon. Eevee's evolution. It lowers its body temperature, freezing its hair like sharp needles, which it then shoots out, Serena exclaimed. What a coincidence. Glacier is Eevee's evolution, but that's not right. I remember when I was in school, there was a text about Eevee, and it only mentioned that Eevee's evolutions were limited to 3 forms, fire, Vaporeon, and lightning. How come there's also a Glacier? Air was a little confused. I'm not sure either. But we couldn't wait for you to come out of seclusion and ask him. You know, he used to do academic research with a famous Pokemon doctor, Professor Oak. Serena knew from a childhood summer camp experience that you lived in the Oak Research Institute, a place that countless Pokemon researchers longed to visit. Seeing Sharona and the other girls casting puzzled glances, Serena quickly pointed at Serena and Eevee and explained, "This Eevee seems to like that girl quite a bit, otherwise, given its personality, it wouldn't have followed her out. And it stole her glasses again. This Eevee can't bear to see her go, so it wants her to stay and play with it, is that so?" Serena paused in surprise after hearing the explanation. She looked at the trapped Eevee and instinctively pointed at herself. Eevee, the Eevee, clearly understanding the conversation, cried out excitedly, its struggles intensifying. Upon learning the reason, Serena, ignoring Aaron Xiaoxu's surprise, strode forward with her slender legs towards the Eevee. As Serena approached, the Eevee's struggles gradually subsided, until it finally fell silent, staring intently at Serena, who crouched before it, clutching her skirt. Serena wore a disarming smile and reached out her fair hand to stroke Eevee's soft fur. "I'm sorry, Eevee. I misunderstood you earlier. Since you want to play with me, how about going on a trip with me?" Ignoring the groping hands, Eevee tilted its head, its eyes, gleaming like black gemstones, fixed on Serena, as if considering her opinion. Serena remained unhurried, her gaze fixed on Eevee, her hands moving without ceasing, a faint, intoxicated smile on her face. Aaron Xiaoxu watched quietly from behind, not moving to interrupt. The ice on Eevee's feet, created by the freezing beam, began to melt. Eevee, suddenly, as if sensing the release of its restraints, Eevee shuddered and leaped back, facing Serena again. It made a gesture as if about to pounce, baring its teeth and shouting at Serena. "Ouch! It hurts." What happened? The sudden change scared Serena, and her body fell straight back and squatted on her butt. Xiaoxu and Air were also shocked and hurried over to help Serena up. Seeing Serena fall backward, Eevee was also stunned, and looked at Serena nervously, with worry and concern in his eyes. But when he saw that Serena was fine, he started screaming again, this time more violently than before. Eevee. Chapter 162 Firefox vs Eevee. "I'm fine, but what's wrong with Eevee?" "It was fine just now." Aaron Xiaoxu helped Serena to her feet, her brows furrowed, a look of pain on her face, but she didn't care at the moment. "I understand." At this moment, Serena also came up, with the ice spirit at her side. "So what's going on?" Xiaoxu asked before Serena could speak. "If I'm not mistaken, although Eevee recognizes Serena, it probably wants to fight Serena and let her conquer it in a fair fight." Serena stated her theories one by one. "Is that so?" Serena asked uncertainly, looking at the still-ready Eevee. However, Eevee nodded vigorously and called out to Serena a few times with great vigor. "Okay." As if inspired, Serena broke free from Xiaoxu and Air's support, her pain forgotten. She clenched her right fist and shouted with overwhelming force, "I accept your challenge, Eevee. I will conquer you fair and square." Ah. Serena's getting all fired up. Yeah, but is that really okay? Fighting openly in the streets, Xiaoxia and Air were surprised by Serena's sudden surge of fighting spirit. They had always imagined Serena to be gentle and kind, able to quickly regain her composure even in moments of anxiety. They began to feel guilty about her sudden passion, about facing a fight head-on. Without giving Air and Xiaoxia time to think, the passing crowd, noticing the prospect of a fight, made way for them. Watching the Eevee leap onto the field, Serena, unwilling to be outdone, pulled a Pokeball from the pocket of her skirt and tossed it. "Come out, Firefox. This is our first real battle, we can't lose." Serena pointed at Eevee and shouted with a fierce voice, tying her loose hair back. This was Serena's first battle against a wild Pokemon. After acquiring Firefox, she'd only ever practiced with Eevee and the others. Preemptive strike, Firefox, use claws, eee. Seizing this opportunity, she smacked the creature with her glowing white claws. But that wasn't all. Seeing her strike was successful, Serena quickly gave the command, "Firefox, use your claws continuously." The moment the command was given, both of Firefox's claws glowed white, and the scene that unfolded was a stunner. Firefox pawed left, right, up, down, battering Eevee repeatedly. "Great. That's how Firefox is. Go for it." Seeing victory tipping towards her, Serena beamed, and those behind her jumped for joy. "Let's take the victory." "Firefox, use Spark." Serena beamed confidently, as if Eevee would be in her Pokeball in the next moment. But, just as the spark was about to hit Eevee, suppressing the discomfort, used Speed Star, blocking the spark and breaking Firefox's howl. Eee. If I'm not mistaken, Serena's fighting style must be modeled after that you all mentioned. Without directly answering, Sharona's eyes flickered between Serena and the two battling Pokemon. "That's right," Air took over, somewhat uncertainly, then continued, "I think so. During our travels, we sometimes sparred with you, or watched him train with this Pokemon." "Sharona, how did you know that?" The fact that Serena chose to go head-to-head with Eevee reveals a lot. Someone who lacks the necessary skills, or is overconfident in their Pokemon, wouldn't choose a head-on confrontation. It's clear that Serena, as a novice trainer, is still a little unsure of her fiendish's strength, so she should be adopting tactics learned from others. Unless she overcomes this, she's doomed to failure. Sharona, like Detective Conan, suddenly wore a pair of reflective glasses, her analysis so coherent that Xiaoxia and Air were stunned. Let's not talk about the two women who were a little worried because of Sharona's words, and turn our attention back to Serena. As time went on, the disadvantages of Firefox gradually showed up. In terms of strength, it was no match for Eevee. Often, as long as Eevee hits once, Firefox will not be able to do much damage even if he grabs it 3 or 4 times. At this time, even if Serena doesn't understand, you know that it's not possible for me to learn use tactics by myself. Therefore, her eyebrows frowned even deeper, forcing herself to quickly come up with a winning tactic. What should we do? Firefox is far inferior to Eevee in terms of strength and speed. After the initial panic, Serena quickly calmed down and analyzed the situation on the field. If you was facing this situation now, what would he do? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, Selena's First Conquest. Time slipped quietly as people watched the street battle between Firefox and Eevee. The warm, dazzling sunlight shone brightly, causing some women who admired beauty to unfurl their umbrellas and don a wide variety of sunglasses. The sunlight poured down the street, but the scene of Eevee and Firefox's battle was the most dazzling. Tick-tock, a drop of sweat dripped down Eevee's cheek as it ran. Yes, that's it. As if attracted by the sweat drop, it exploded into a scattering of small splashes as it landed. Serena, as if she had grasped something, or perhaps had found a way to defeat the enemy, her cherry red lips curled up in an alluring arc. "Firefox, howl, then wag your tail." Serena gave a strange command. Firefox, the sharp, piercing cry emanated from Firefox's mouth once again. Eevee's forward momentum faltered, and a look of pain returned to its face. Firefox, let's use roaming tactics and harass with sparks. Serena suddenly remembered this. The same time Yu was at a disadvantage in a duel, he'd used roaming tactics to wear down his opponent's stamina. Sparks were like annoying flies, constantly darting at Eevee. While the damage wasn't high, Eevee often had to endure the discomfort of their bodies, dodging or looking for an opportunity to attack. Eevee once again dodging Firefox's sparks, he saw his slow, erratic progress closing in on Firefox, just a meter away, allowing Eevee to pick him up and attack. Firefox, howl as you run, and use your claws when you find an opportunity, Serena's delicate voice echoed again. Perhaps the noise was too distracting, but before Eevee could even execute the little trick he'd planned, the Firefox, upon hearing its master's command, had already stalked towards him, its nimble form swooping in, its claws glowing wide as it swooped down. Firefox seeing Eevee fall, Firefox felt a sense of relief, its body relaxed, and it sat down on the ground. However, the sparks that occasionally flew from its nose showed that it shared its owner's joy. Alright. Serena, stop being so silly. Hurry up and get out your Pokeball and capture Eevee. Seeing Serena still cheering over her victory, Air rolled her eyes and couldn't help but yell at her. Then, she shook her head helplessly, muttering to herself, is it really that serious? It's just a victory over a wild Pokemon. Is she so silly and happy? Oh. That's right. We still have to capture it. Where's the Pokeball? Where's the Pokeball? Air's reminder finally brought Serena to her senses. She quickly grabbed her backpack and searched for the Pokeball she'd left somewhere. Black. It was as if Murkrows flew overhead, sending up tiny black dots on their foreheads. I finally found you, Serena exclaimed in surprise. She was seen clutching her backpack in one hand and her Pokeball in the other. Just as she was about to throw it, something struck her, and she stopped. The scene of Yu capturing a Pokemon flashed through her mind. Reminiscing, Serena immediately imitated Yu's pose, tossing the Pokeball and shouting something rather childish. Go, Pokeball, out! Out! The Pokeball was launched, tracing a perfect parabola through the air. Serena's expectant, nervous gaze sank as the Pokeball edged closer and closer to Eevee. Bang! With a soft sound, Serena froze, her eyes narrowing into tiny dots, a look of embarrassment plastered across her face. Black. Murkrow flew once again overhead, plunging the crowd into a momentary silence. The air was filled with an eerie, gloomy atmosphere. Serena, reacting with a flurry of panic, quickly straightened her stance and adjusted her skirt. Her still red face betrayed her inner turmoil. What is Serena doing? She's not even copying Yu's Pokemon catching moves, is she? Air and Xiaoxu watched with utter dismay. Mistake, Serena smiled sheepishly, taking small steps towards the Eevee. HMPH, since I can't throw it right, can't catch it in style, I'll just go for a close-range shot. This is bound to fail, Serena thought proudly, crouching down with one hand against her thick skirt and picking up a Pokeball that had fallen nearby. She gently tapped the red and white circular button against Eevee's body. Suddenly, a red light shot out from the Pokeball, enveloping Eevee and completely enveloping it. Bang, dwang, feeling the Pokeball sway in her hand, followed by a soft sound. Yes, great. I caught Eevee. Serena leaped up and gave a scissors sign towards Xiaoxu, Air, and the others. Congratulations, Serena. The two girls were also happy for Serena. Just then, Serena returned, holding Eevee's Pokeball, accompanied by Firefox. Thank you, Serena. If it weren't for Serena, I wouldn't have been able to catch Eevee. That's your own skill, not mine, Serena chuckled. But still, before Serena could finish, a sudden voice interrupted the conversation. Wow, it's quite lively here, huh? Chapter 164 Freezing Ray. Hey, beauties, wow, haha. I didn't expect to be so lucky today, actually meeting 4 beauties while out and about. Hey, beauties, you're not from here, are you? Do you want us to take you around Mire City? Several men, dressed strangely and colorfully, their exposed skin covered in tattoos, pushed aside the crowd blocking their way. Looking at the 4 women chatting and laughing in the room, they all flashed disgusting, wicked grins. Some of them were even bolder, ready to go up and make a move on Sharona and the other women. What are you doing? Firefox, use sparks. Seeing the men with ill intentions getting closer and closer, Serena was the first to give the order. Oh, you dared to sneak attack me? I guess I have to teach you a lesson. Yo-ho, it's quite spicy, but I like it. Ha ha ha. Faced with the Firefox's sparks, several men cursed angrily, some unable to dodge quickly, while others who were not hit laughed wildly, their disdain evident. Hey. But I say, boss, is it really okay for us to be so high profile? Aren't we afraid that Miss Juncha will show up again? One of the more burly men asked quietly, looking at the thinner man wearing a green turban following behind him. What are you afraid of? Isn't there an old Chinese saying? That the most dangerous is the safest. That idiot Juncha would never have thought we would do this. The turbaned man, shielding his mouth with his palm, also spoke quietly, but his tone was filled with unconcealed pride. Wow. Boss, you're so smart, of course. Otherwise, how could I be the boss and you be the underling? A pair of men, one tall, one short, one strong, one thin, were seen hiding behind a group of people, sneaking about in a comical manner, afraid of being discovered. Anyone witnessing the scene would surely burst out in laughter. You're playing with fire, a cold, yet slightly commanding voice rang out from the side. The men shuddered, their movements pausing slightly. Following the source of the voice, they saw the woman in black, once their prey, radiating a queenly aura. Her once somewhat lazy eyes now shone with a chilling glint. The first to react was the green turban boss. Though he himself was frightened by the queenly gaze, he glanced around at the timid, retreating expressions of his subordinates. His face darkened instantly, and he roared in anger, "Well, you grown men, you're so scared by a woman. Shame on you." And with that roar, the group of men, after their initial panic, quickly calmed down. "Ha ha, boss, you're right. There are so many of us, how can we be afraid of a woman like her? Go and beat her up, come on, cool leopard, go." Tyrannosaurus Rex, the men, who had initially looked ferocious, immediately started shouting, some even sending out their Pokémon. "What should we do? They're outnumbered. We can only wait and see." Air looked at the group of men looking for trouble with some concern. If only you were here right now, he would definitely teach them a lesson. This was Serena's inner thoughts at the moment. Xiaoxu didn't join in the discussion, but simply stood aside and watched quietly. The tension between the two sides was tense. "Hirona, don't worry. Don't forget, I'm the champion. The champion of the Sinnoh League." Compared to a moment ago, Sharona still wore a relaxed smile. That confident look infected Serena and the other girls, causing them to suddenly realize their mistake. That's right. They had a champion on their team. So why were they so timid? "Go. Ice Elf. Show these people what you're made of." "Ice Ice!" the Ice Elf screamed, and a powerful aura emanated from it. The icy chill made the once warm air seem to condense faintly like ice shards. "Ice Elf, use Jet Beam." Sharona gave the first order, not wanting to waste any more time. "Cool Panther Shadow Ball." "Metal Tyranitar, use Rock Slide." Seeing Sharona ready to attack without a word, they were immediately enraged and ordered their Pokémon one after another. In an instant, skills flew across the street like they were free, and colorful lights flashed everywhere. However, faced with this complex and despairingly dense array of skills, the Ice Elf's freezing ray was like a small boat on the ocean, facing the surging waves, poised to vanish into thin air at any moment. The ferocious men thought the same thing, sneers of disdain on their faces, as if the Ice Elf would be rendered incapacitated in the next moment. But the next moment, like a Gotha duck being strangled by a throbbing enemy, they were speechless. The freezing ray, like a sword wielding a freezing blade, pierced the enemy's skill array, threatening to engulf it at any moment. The moment of contact, the streets centered around those skills suddenly collapsed, erupting with intermittent explosions and waves spreading outward. Countless objects were blown over, and some women in skirts clutched their skirts tightly. Parents with children simply held their children's hands, fearing the blast would blow them away. As the blast gradually receded, a chilly breeze blew from nowhere, gradually dispersing the white mist created by the explosion. What the hell is this? It's unbelievable. Why is this happening? Everyone stared at the scene before them with varying expressions, the fierce-looking men being the most exaggerated. As the mist dissipated, the true face of Mount Lushan was revealed to the crowd. It was truly remarkable that the Ice Spirit was worthy of being the champion Pokémon. Even a single blast of Freeze Beam was packed with power. Facing a barrage of attacks, it not only stood firm but, with a single blow, blocked them all. Finally, due to the overwhelming power of the Freeze Beam, It solidified a series of icebergs in the field. Chapter 165 Ice Elf vs. Cunning Tengu. The iceberg, reflecting the sunlight, shone with a soft, dazzling light. Even through the ice, one could clearly see the crowd's every move. However, as a Glacean trainer, Serena seemed unfazed. Without giving them time to react, she gave the next command, Glacean, use Ice Fang. Ice immediately, a pair of the largest teeth, made entirely of ice, appeared from the Glacean's mouth. While the other Pokémon panicked, their masters still unaware, it suddenly leaped out. With a few leaps and bounds, it crisscrossed the field, unstoppable in its path. Under the immense power of Ice Fang, the Pokémon either collapsed instantly or were left with barely a shred of strength. This is impossible. I must be dazzled, she's a demon. How can she be so powerful? At this moment, a wave of fear spread through the hearts of those ferocious men. Serena, already in combat mode, ignored the other's words. Her pretty face remained tense as she shouted in a cold, delicate voice, Ice Elf, use Freeze Beam again. Ice Ice. The Ice Elf's cry was like a death horn. Amidst the horrified gazes of the crowd, the Freeze Beam swept across and fell. Surprisingly, aside from the Ice Elf, not a single Pokémon remained standing. Boss, that woman is too powerful. Why don't we retreat? One of the men looked at his boss, his voice trembling. Yes, boss, run. We're no match for her. Following closely behind, the others echoed. Look at you all, you idiots. You're only boosting others' morale and destroying your own. Your boss is unbeatable. The man with the green turban observed his cowardly men, his finger trembling with anger as he pointed at them. He shoved a little brother in front of him aside, pulled a Pokéball from his trouser pocket, and looked at the girl across from him, who was as cold as ice, but looked extremely mature against her casual clothes. The man in the green turban had a playful smile on his face. Tisk. You're so powerful. You can actually beat down all my little brothers. But in front of me, the green turban, you're nothing. Anyone in front of me will be defeated by me. Looking at the shouting green turban across from him, well, that's what the man was called. Serena looked at him with sympathy. Seeing him still acting like he was second to nothing, Serena could only say that he really didn't know his place. After all, Serena had seen Kalos champion Corona take action. They had discussed and resolved a troubled situation directly before. So how could Serena, also a champion, be so weak? Oh, really? It seems you're very confident in your Pokémon's strength. Let me see it then. Serena was immediately interested. Since becoming champion, she had rarely participated in Pokémon battles with others. At this moment, Serena was completely different from the cute girl who hesitated for a long time before choosing an ice cream. Whenever she entered a Pokémon battle and entered combat mode, she would become extremely calm and serious. She even became very similar to Yu in one aspect, the excitement of the battle. To put it bluntly, Champion Serena was also a battle fanatic. You're really so arrogant. Just because I praised you, do you really think you can defeat me? The leader of the Green Turban Men, also known as the Green Turban, glared and threw the Pokéball in his hand. Since you want to know so much, I'll show you. Come out, Cunning Tengu, Cunning Tengu. Let him see how powerful you are. Use Leaf Blade, Ice Spirit Freeze Beam. The swirling leaves, just like the name of the skill, flew like flying knives, with a faint sound of breaking through the wind. But even this seemingly powerful attack was frozen by the freeze beam, and the swirling leaves and knives were dropped from the air, splashing onto the ground and sending up tiny specks of glittering ice. In the sunlight, it was dazzling, beautiful and dreamy. However, at this moment, no one had time to appreciate the scene, and everyone was watching the battle intently. After the freezing ray took effect, Serena seized the opportunity and gave orders. Ice Spirit, approach the Cunning Tengu. Use Ice Fang on it. Cunning Tengu, use Grass Knot, then surprise attack, get out of the way, keep charging. Plants sprouted from the street, then rapidly grew upward as if on steroids. Suddenly, the plants, like strands of hemp rope, nimbly bound the running Ice Spirit. Ice. The Ice Spirit remained unfazed, dodging the continuous stream of plants. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, three sounds pierced the air, revealing a dark shadow rapidly approaching, now within half a meter of the Ice Spirit. Seeing that his grass knots had little effect on the Ice Spirit, the Cunning Tengu resorted to a diversionary tactic, using some of his grass knots to distract the Ice Spirit. He then seized the opportunity to charge 3 more grass knots, preparing to surprise the Ice Spirit. However, what followed disappointed the cunning Tengu in the green turban. Facing 3 unknown planchets like bullets, the Ice Spirit opened its vast mouth, emitting a chill and shrouded in ice crystals, and bit down on the oncoming grass knots. In a flash, the grass knots bitten by the Ice Spirit froze over, one section at a time, and an exquisite ice sculpture suddenly appeared on the street. Ice! Ice! The Ice Spirit cried out, leaping onto the ice sculpture and nimbly running towards the cunning Tengu. As it ran, icy air condensed around its mouth, and in just a few leaps, the ice fangs were once again formed by the Ice Spirit. Pada pada bang bang bang. With each step the ice elf took, the ice sculptures beneath his feet crumbled, shattering into icy shards. How is this possible? The green-hooded man screamed, clearly unable to accept the fact that his supposedly perfect plan had fallen through. Huh? Nothing's impossible. You can't possibly not understand something as basic as the attribute table we learned in elementary school, because I have an exam in the next 2 days, and the author is writing first and has no draft saved. The posting will be a bit late. Chapter 166 1 verses 2? You don't even know something as basic as the attribute chart, something you learned in elementary school. Sharona's words instantly pierced Green Turban's heart like a sharp sword, dealing him tens of thousands of points of critical damage. He was instantly petrified, lost in a sea of painful memories. He recalled how poor grades had led Green Turban to drop out of school, unable to memorize even the most basic elements of the attribute battle chart. Now, Sharona casually brought up those painful memories, and he regretted not studying hard enough, filled with even more anger at having his wounds exposed. Looking at the crowd around him, perhaps through some psychological effect, Green Turban felt they were pointing fingers and looking down on him. Especially when he saw the women across from him giggling at Sharona's rather teasing remark, his anger burned him, and he wanted to charge them and give them a lesson, to vent his rage. But upon meeting Sharona's calm yet commanding gaze, he instantly calmed down. The girl across from him, dressed in casual attire and exuding a queenly aura, was no pushover. Did he see the Ice Spirit now charging towards him, almost touching his cunning Tengu? Its icy ice fangs gradually unfurled as it drew closer. Cunning Tengu's shadow clones, dodge, then use Leaf Storm. The Green Turban reacted quickly, commanding immediately. Bang! The Ice Spirit's ice fangs swiftly bit out, instantly shattering the cunning Tengu. Unfortunately, it only hit a shadow. Cunning. Shadows of the cunning Tengu flashed, swirling around the Ice Spirit, attempting to confuse the Ice Spirit and prepare for the next attack. Ice Spirit, use Freezing Wind. Unfortunately, before the Green Turban could give his orders, Sharona preempted him. A gust of icy wind blew from the Ice Spirit's body, the freezing wind slashing in all directions like a steel scraper. As cunning Tengu's shadow clones came into contact with the icy wind, their forms twisted and vanished into thin air. Cunning, the freezing wind sweep was so extensive that even cunning Tengu's true form was affected. The biting cold blast sent it flying backwards, causing it to let out a cry of pain. It seemed the Ice Spirit's chilling wind was quite powerful, coupled with the exceptional damage ice types offer against grass types. Damn it! This female Ice Spirit is so powerful. I'm bound to lose. My reputation as the boss is in jeopardy. Looking at cunning Tengu, whose face was itched with pain as he was sent flying, the Green Turban's expression darkened. Looking across at Fenkingayan, whose expression remained unchanged, watching Sharona battle with a blank expression, Green Turban suddenly had what he considered a brilliant and bold idea. Deal with that Ice Spirit. Use Freeze Beam. Seeing his cunning Tengu incapacitated by the Freeze Beam, Green Turban, contrary to his usual tendency, showed no signs of anxiety. Instead, a sinister grin played on his face. He quietly reached into his pockets with his left and right hands, pulling out Pokeballs and playing with them. In that same moment, the Ice Spirit's ice fang struck the cunning Tengu. As expected, the moment the cunning Tengu was bitten, his eyes immediately stopped spinning, and he lost his ability to fight. Great! Cunning Tengu is incapacitated, Sharona wins. Champion Sharona truly lives up to her reputation. I knew Sharona was the best. Serena, Xiaoguang, and the other two cheered behind him, high-fiving each other, their joy evident. At this moment, the expressions of the Green Turban's minions also grew intense. They had never imagined that their formidable leader would be so quickly defeated by the woman they despised. This seemingly protracted battle was actually resolved in less than 4 minutes. The sheer speed and sheer spectacle of the action left the spectators completely captivated. Some were still dazed, still absorbed in the blistering pace of the battle. Victory, Sharona whispered to herself, looking at the cunning Tengu lying on the ground, now incapacitated, and then at the Ice Elf marching towards her with a triumphant stride. A sudden sense of unease welled up within her. Smug. Now go ahead and smug, Green Turban sneered inwardly, throwing his Pokeball. Come out. Charmeleon, Magneton. Charmeleon uses fire, Magneton uses electromagnetic waves. What? Shameless. That person is so shameless. To think there's such a shameless person. The sudden appearance of the two Pokemon immediately sparked outrage, pointing and criticizing Green Turban. Only Sharona, after her initial surprise, immediately responded with the correct instructions. Glacier, use Guard. Ice faced with the alternating attacks of lightning and fire, Glacier truly lived up to being one of Sharona's main Pokemon. As Sharona's command reached its ears, it instinctively used Guard, relying on its trust in its master and its quick reflexes. The fire and electromagnetic waves were instantly blocked by the energy shield created by Guard. Alright. You can't beat me in a fair fight, so you're just being cunning. I'll teach you a lesson. At this moment, Sharona's voice and expression made it impossible to tell what she was feeling at the moment. Alright. Come on, I'm so scared. You have to understand that it's 1 against 2 now. The green-headed man was not ashamed but proud of it, shaking his head at Sharona provocatively. Oh, really? I don't think so. A Pokeball appeared in Sharona's hand without her knowing when. Well, Sharona is not going to send it out, is she? But not really. Xiaoxu was shocked and couldn't believe it after seeing Sharona's actions. What's wrong with Sharona? Is there something wrong? Aer, who was standing next to her, heard it clearly and asked subconsciously. Yes. It's very wrong. It seems that Sharona is really angry. Chapter 167, Land Shark shows its power. Yes. Something's very wrong. It seems Sharona is truly angry. Before Xiaoxu could finish her words, a loud roar from the field interrupted her. A new Pokemon had appeared at some point, and perhaps because it had just appeared, it was now howling towards the heavens. Sure enough, seeing the new Pokemon appear, Xiaoxu's expression was astonished. This Pokemon is, the novice trainer, Serena, was quite self-conscious and took out a Pokemon picture. After all, asking when you don't understand is the true meaning of being a good student. Greco, a supersonic Pokemon. By folding its body and spreading its wings, it can fly at the speed of sound like a jet. This Pokemon is Garchomp. Xiaoxu, do you know it? Aer asked again, her expression filled with shock. I know him, not just that, but I'm incredibly familiar with him. Garchomp is one of Sharona's main Pokemon, and even her starting Pokemon. While her other top contenders competed for the Sinnoh Championship, I was the one who looked after Sharona's 6 main Pokemon before and after the matches, helping them recover. Xiaoxu's face was filled with indescribable pride, and she even puffed out her chest under the gaze of Aer and Serena. So, Garchomp is Sharona's most powerful Pokemon? That's right, let's wait and see. See how Sharona tortures him. Ugh! How she beats him. Fierce bite. As if to confirm Xiaoxu's words, Garchomp roared again, but this time, its target was no longer the sky, but Charmeleon and Magneto. As Garchomp's roar rang out, a force that threatened to condense into substance, spreading outward from him. The wide, clean streets were even thick with dust, creating a sense of impending storm. Ice, ice! Upon seeing Garchomp's appearance, the Ice Elf immediately barked like a wronged child, descending to its feet and whispering, completely losing the oppressive aura she had displayed when battling the cunning Tengu. Fierce bite. It was unclear what the Ice Elf and Garchomp exchanged, but Garchomp let out another loud cry, his already ferocious glare escalating even more fiercely. Oh my god! Here comes someone who looks even more formidable. Hearing Garchomp's cries, the Green Turban shuddered in fear, groaning inwardly. Okay, now it's fair. 2 against 2. I won't bully you, you go first. Ignoring Garchomp's actions, Sharona chuckled softly, a hint of amusement in her voice. This is not going to work. Green Turban cursed silently as he watched Charmeleon and Magnetron, their fighting spirit fading. But there was nothing he could do. If he backed down, not only would his standing with his fellow Pokemon decline, he'd even lose their support. With no other options left, he gritted his teeth and pressed forward. Even as Green Turban pondered this, he gave his 2 Pokemon the command, Charmeleon, use Flame Jet, Magnetron, use 100,000 volts. You're really overestimating yourself. Salona's delicate lips curled slightly as she watched the combined fire and lightning skills reappear, whispering, Dragon Wave, hoo-hoo. Garchomp unleashed Dragon Wave, echoing with explosive clamor wherever it went. In the face of Dragon Wave, the 100,000 volts and Flame Jet seemed like mere play, swiftly obliterated by it. After neutralizing two of the most powerful moves, Dragon Wave continued to gather momentum, charging towards the two opposing Pokémon. Oh my! So strong, Green Hood's face turned green. But he had no choice but to counter Dragon Wave's attack. Characterine uses Mega Blast, Magnetron uses Light Wall. Mega Blast, worthy of being one of the most powerful fire-type moves, collided with Dragon Wave, though not completely blocking it. Even so, the residual power of Dragon Wave continued to surge forward. 3-in-1 at this moment, Magnetron seized the opportunity to rush in front of Characterine, and a yellow light wall formed in front of it. Bang boom! Dragon Wave slammed into the light wall. Under Green Hood's nervous gaze, the light wall finally trembled a few times, with a slight pop, and disappeared into thin air. Groose, use Dragon Tail. Sharona gave Garchomp another command, not giving him a chance to breathe. Fierce Bite. The moment Sharona gave the order, Garchomp began to move its massive body, pushing its broad paws against the ground with all its might. It immediately lunged towards Rathalos and the others, its thick tail enveloped in an emerald green light, appearing to be filled with power and unparalleled destructive power. What? Is that woman going to stop? Green Turban roared inwardly in shock and anger. He seemed to have forgotten that he had been the one to instigate this whole incident, and now, seeing Sharona's difficulty, he felt like the victim. But he couldn't just sit there and wait for death, so he quickly ordered countermeasures. Don't go too far, you really think I'm afraid of you? Magnetron, use your triple attack. Charmeleon, use your Flame Punch, take it. Fierce Bite. As Green Hood finished his words, Garchomp's tail arrived, facing Magnetron's triple attack. However, the dragon's tail, glowing emerald green, continued to swing behind him, showing no sign of blocking it. Garchomp crossed his hands, and the fan-like pectoral fins attached to his wrists overlapped. Haha! Just as Green Hood thought Garchomp was ignorant and was about to take Magnetron's triple attack, he smiled smugly. Fierce Bite. Garchomp's roar rose again, and then two blade-like after images flashed by, and Magnetron's triple attack was instantly reduced to 4 petals. Green Hood's expression froze. He couldn't help but twitch at the bone spurs on Garchomp's forearm, which still glowed green. But it wasn't over yet. The next scene almost made him want to bang his head against the wall. Chapter 168 Pokémon's Leisure Time. Duckbill. While Green Hood was still petrified, another cry echoed from the field. This time, it wasn't Garchomp, but his own Pokémon. Charmeleon, seemingly missing a nerve, charged forward recklessly, completely unaware of fear. Its right fist, engulfed in flames, radiated a scorching heat as it aimed a direct punch at Garchomp. But would Garchomp let it do so? The answer was no. Garchomp drifted and braked sharply, dodging Magneto's interception. Using its left foot as a fulcrum, it planted its foot firmly on the ground. Then, with a slight push from its right foot, it instantly executed a Thomas turn. Before Charmeleon could even reach Garchomp, it flew backwards at a speed even faster than when it came. Oh my god, this idiot, where's his brain? Seeing Charmeleon already barely able to stand after just one blow, Green Turban cursed once more, sweat dripping from his face and panicking. Wow! Sharona's Garchomp is truly powerful. Seeing Garchomp's series of moves, Air's eyes lit up with excitement. This was another great material for a Pokémon show. If it were Yu, he could probably do something like that. Serena had a blinding confidence in Yu. I'm not sure about Yu, but speaking of Yu, have we forgotten something? Air tugged at her chin thoughtfully. It seems so. What is it? Serena patted her head in annoyance, but then shook it off and focused back on the battle. Never mind, forget it. Of course, I have to watch this exciting and rare Pokémon battle first. That makes sense. Area divider. What Serena and the others didn't know was that, at the Pokémon Center, after breakfast, Pikachu didn't go shopping with Serena and the others. Instead, he returned to the Pokémon Center's backyard and began training on his own. Pikachu, 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 who was battling Charmeleon, suddenly stopped and sneezed twice. Riza, Pikachu, what's wrong? Pika, It's okay, I just don't know who's thinking about me. Riza, Pikachu, do you know when Master will come out? It seems like he's going to gym with Master right now. Pika, I don't know either. Pikachu looked a little frustrated and simply gave up training. He ran over to Charmeleon and sat down on the ground with him, intending to rest for a while. Claws, why are you guys slacking off? At that moment, Crab, foaming at the mouth, put down the stone he was training with, and crawled straight towards the two of them. Pika, this is not called being lazy, this is called combining work and rest. Lisa, that's right, Gyarados and Rocket are the ones who are lazy. They didn't even stay to train with us, but went out shopping with Serena and the others. Buzz, I don't know how their shopping was going. Buzz, the youngest Pokemon in Yu's hand, saw that all the seniors had stopped training, so he flew over with stones tied to his feet, intending to join in the fun. Pikachu, Buzzbit, you're here too. Now the only one missing is Ditto. I don't know where that guy ran off to. Claws, there's nothing we can do about it. Who told that guy to have the voice-changing skill? Buzzbit, dear seniors, are you talking about Ditto? After I finished my meal, I seemed to see it turn into my appearance and said it wanted to experience the feeling of flying. Pikachu's mouth twitched a few times after hearing Buzzbit's answer. As the eldest, it had been with Ditto the longest. And it immediately knew Ditto's intention. Pikachu, okay, I know where it went. Let's continue training. Since they're slacking off, when Master comes out and challenges the Mire Gym, we'll choose one of us to challenge them, and let them go shopping instead. Lisa, okay, I like that idea. Charmeleon was the first to chime in. Ever since being captured by Yu as a Charmander and evolving into Charmeleon through numerous battles, its personality has changed, from timid to belligerent. Buzzbat, great. I love battling the most, perhaps influenced by Pikachu and the others. Even the youngest, Buzzbat, has become quite belligerent. Claws, ha, my fighting spirit is ignited too. Who'll get the chance to fight alongside Master in the end? Crab swung its claws, making a sharp, scissor-like crackling sound. After a period of nurturing under the light snow, the crab's nutrition had also improved. Although it still looked a little malnourished, it had grown considerably larger than when it was first captured. Area dividing line, returning to the battle on the street. Seeing the opponent still struggling in vain, Sharona was not about to let him go easily. Greco Shark uses Dragon. Wait, give him a break so we can meet again in the future. Do you really want to do this so ruthlessly? The green-headed man waved his hand and shouted loudly, interrupting Sharona's order. Hearing the opponent's words that sounded like a great injustice, Sharona frowned. However, seeing this, thinking that his words had an effect on Sharona, the green-headed man involuntarily straightened his back. But before that could last, Sharona's next words sent Green Turban reeling. Give us a way out, so we can meet again someday, okay? Sadly, we won't be meeting again, so you can rest assured. Garchomp uses Dragon's Fury. What? Damn it, you woman. Green Turban was stunned at first, then raged. Since you won't let me off easy, then neither will you. Charmeleon uses Destruction Beam, and Magneto steps forward to block Dragon's Fury. Fierce bite like the roar of a furious dragon. A column of blue-purple energy erupted from Garchomp's mouth, gradually transforming into a furious dragon with bared fangs and claws. It charged once again, determined to eliminate both of its Pokemon in one fell swoop. Chapter 169 Control of Power. The Dragon's Fury, emanating a subtle dragon power, was incredibly destructive. Furthermore, it was unleashed by Sharona's Garchomp. Just the sight of it from afar evoked a devastating, oppressive feeling. However, Guardian, arguably the most powerful defensive skill in the world, was truly effective. Magnetron, with a fearless spirit, directly blocked the path of the mighty dragon's fury. The furious dragon slammed fiercely into the protective green energy shield. Even Guardian, which could defend against any attack, was shaken by the dragon's fury's attack. You might think that was the end of it, but it wasn't. The true power of the champion was revealed later. The dragon's fury collided with Guardian, its force so immense that it pushed Magnetron backwards. Although Magneto's Guardian ability managed to block Dragon's Fury's force, the sheer force ultimately knocked Magneto slightly off course. Dragon's Fury slammed into Charmeleon. It was incredibly fast. Seeing the dragon flying towards it with its claws and fangs bared, Charmeleon simply gave up his momentum and erupted a torrent of fire from his abdomen. Boom boom, Dragon's Fury and Charmeleon collided instantly, a sonic boom echoing as a wave of heat spread outward. Dragon's Fury slammed into the heart of Charmeleon's town. After a brief standoff, Dragon's Fury and Charmeleon pierced each other, each carrying them over a meter before stopping and dissipating into thin air. Alright, time to end this boring fight. Garchomp, use Dragon Dive. Cynthia seemed a little impatient. Seeing the green-headed man trying to make some subtle moves, her expressionless face finally changed, and she curled her tender red lips. Fire Bite, as if sensing his master's mood, Garchomp also grew impatient. With a push of his wide feet, he instantly leaped several meters high. A bluish-purple light reappeared, enveloping Garchomp. At the peak of his leap, Garchomp flipped, assuming a flying stance. The fins between his arms acted like lighters, spinning 360 degrees. Then, like a cannonball, he flew towards the nearly incapacitated Charmeleon and Magneto. No, this isn't the way to play it. Feeling the overwhelming pressure from Dragon Dive's ultimate move, Green Turban was about to collapse and bang his head against the wall. They'd agreed to a proper fight, but now he was using such a powerful move? This was a foul. Green Turban screamed inwardly, roaring in despair. It seemed as if, at this moment, facing Garchomp's Dragon Dive, no one, no Pokémon, could even think of resisting. If the master was like this, then the Pokémon were even more frightened. Charmeleon and Magneto were practically dumbfounded, practically kneeling in worship before the overwhelming force of Dragon Dive. The two Pokémon were actually thinking the same thing, but they didn't dare to show it too clearly, as their master was watching from behind. But even these friendly and obedient Pokémon were already cursing their master 1,000 times in their hearts. What kind of people are you? This is you. How could there be such a foolish master in the world? You know you're no match for the other team, yet you still force us out? You're not just sending your own Pokémon to their deaths, what are you doing? And you're sending them thousands of miles away. Regardless of what Green Turban and the other Pokémon were thinking, Garchomp had already flown in front of Charmeleon and the others. Without even a hint of resistance or struggle, Garchomp's fins, after performing a Dragon Dive, were like two razor-sharp scimitars. He slashed through between Charmeleon and Magneto. There was no expected explosion or blast, just a passing dragon swoop. Charmeleon and Magneto, as if their strength had been drained, collapsed to the ground like noodles, their eyes automatically turning into the mosquito-repellent glow that signified their inability to fight. The scene looked incredibly strange, but if you had thought of it, his eyes would have widened and he would have screamed, "This Serena is truly worthy of being the Sinnoh champion." Garchomp's power is controlled to such a subtle degree, whether in martial arts or Pokémon battles, the more devastating the impression a skill creates, the more powerful it is. But in reality, this isn't the case. According to human mechanics, while this mighty attack isn't focused, it simply creates the illusion of a wide area of damage. Only by concentrating power on a single point can one truly unleash devastating power. It's like swinging countless fists at an opponent, while seemingly dense, the damage is immense. It's much better to compress all your strength into a single punch, without any unnecessary bells and whistles, to unleash the full force of your power. Only by concentrating the power of a skill on a single point and then unleashing it can one truly unleash its full power. Great! We won again, yet. Serena is really amazing. Wow. That girl is amazing. She managed to defeat Charmeleon and Magnetron, who look so high level, so easily. Haven't I heard that appearances can't be judged by appearances? Girls these days are so amazing. I guess I'm getting old, boss. Boss, he actually lost. This is unbelievable. Is this still our invincible boss? Whether it was Serena and the others, the crowd, or Green Turban's minions, everyone was talking about it. Listening to his minions' discussion, Green Turban's face contorted, like a fossilized pterosaur about to devour its prey. His Pokémon simply didn't retract their gazes, staring fiercely at Serena. Ignoring Green Turban's gaze, Serena finally smiled again after the battle. She cradled Garchomp's massive head in her hands and gently stroked it. Well done, you didn't let me down. Of course, she hadn't forgotten the ice spirit either. His tone was calm, as if he already knew the outcome. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170 Hero Saves Beauty. Oh ho ho ho! Suddenly, another burst of inexplicable, manic laughter erupted from the arena. Following the source, Sharona glanced briefly at Green Turban before returning her gaze to Garchomp and Glaceon, gently caressing them. Like any other victor, he paid a defeated Green Turban no mind. Perhaps, in Sharona's eyes, Green Turban was simply being unconvinced, and at most, he was just trying to sneak up on them, or perhaps engage in a one-on-many situation. This was why Sharona didn't immediately retract Garchomp and Glaceon's Pokeballs. Could he be planning to commit a crime right here on the street, in front of hundreds of eyes? Hundreds, that's right. As soon as Sharona and Green Turban began their fight, a crowd of onlookers began to gather. As time went on, the crowds intensified, not diminishing. But Sharona was wrong. Green Turban produced 2 darts from nowhere and hurled them fiercely at Sharona. His expression deepened with ferocity. A man like Green Turban, once something went against his will, would instantly become enraged, ready to tear apart and destroy anyone or anything that dared to disobey him. The scene was abrupt. In Green Turban's hands, the 2 darts shot out like bullets from a rifle, piercing the air with a faint sound and swiftly hurtling forward, their target precisely, Sharona, who was still stroking Garchomp and the ice spirit, unresponsive. From Green Turban's calloused hands, his sharp gaze, and his practiced, fluid movements, it was clear that Sharona would undoubtedly be injured. After all, the scene was so sudden that even Garchomp and the ice spirit were still absorbed in her caress and unresponsive. Swish, 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 the sound of blades piercing the air grew louder, finally catching Sharona's attention. But it was too late. Both darts were already on the verge of reaching her, and Sharona could already sense the icy aura emanating from them. Closer, closer, the darts drew closer and closer. It wasn't as painful as she'd imagined, or even a feeling at all. After a moment's pause, Sharona slowly opened her tightly closed eyes. Like a newborn, she surveyed her surroundings with curiosity. The surroundings remained the same, the crowd remained the same, nothing had changed. The 2 darts that had been flying towards her had somehow been broken into 4 pieces, lying quietly on the ground. Fierce bite, ice. By now, the ice elf and Garchomp had finally come to their senses. Seeing their master nearly injured right before their eyes, they all cried out in fury. Their gazes towards the Green Turban were especially captivating, a certain allure evident in their own eyes. What? How is it possible? How is it possible that someone can dodge my Green Turban's deadly dart? This is impossible, impossible. At this moment, the Green Turban was completely dumbfounded. Then, after he reacted, he started to curse. Berkalu, who is it? Who is that Berkalu who ruined your uncle's good deeds? Whoever it is, stand up to your uncle if you have the guts. I promise I will not beat you to death. A buzzbat. Just when the Green Turban was jumping there because of the ruination of his good deeds, a petite figure in the sky laughed happily. If it was not in the sky at this time, it would even clap its hands and do a short flying dance. The laughter of this petite figure finally attracted people's attention. What just happened? Hey, look at that Pokemon in the sky, looks like that's what happened just now. Xiaoxu, look at that Pokemon in the sky. Does it look familiar? Following the crowd's gaze, the sharp-eyed Serena immediately spotted the petite figure in the sky. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, now that you mention it, it really does look like it, huh? Did you notice? That Pokemon seems to be flying towards us. Up, let me see. Following Serena's gaze, Air concentrated and calmed down. As the Pokemon silhouette drew closer, its petite form gradually grew larger and clearer. Air's expression became extremely excited, and she blurted out, "Isn't that Buzzbit, really? How did it get here?" Serena echoed. "Do you recognize that Pokemon?" Sharona also noticed the arrival of Buzzbit in the sky. Using his champion-level deductions, he quickly figured out that it was Buzzbit's Whirlwind Blade that had saved him. "Yes. It's Yu's Pokemon, the one we told you about earlier, traveling with us." Buzzbit had already flown over to Serena and thrown himself into her arms. "It's you, little one. Aren't you supposed to be training with Pikachu and the others? Why are you here again?" Buzzbit at Serena's question, Buzzbit tilted its head and let out a delighted laugh. Seeing this, Sharona couldn't help but tease Buzzbit in Serena's arms, but she didn't lose sight of her own purpose. After giving the order to Garchomp and Ice Spirit to capture Green Turban, she finally joined the other women's discussion. In this somewhat unusual and joyful atmosphere, Air suddenly slapped his forehead and said with some annoyance, "Ah. Look at my memory, I finally remembered what we forgot." Without waiting for anyone to ask, Air had already cast his gaze on Sharona, frowning a little embarrassedly. "I just remembered. When we went out shopping, we also brought Eu's Gyarados and Rocket Sparrow as bodyguards. And I actually forgot such an important thing just now." Chapter 171 Junsha arrives. "And just now, I actually forgot something so important, leaving Sharona to fight alone, and not only that, but to protect us." Air bit her lower lip, lowering her eyes in a look of remorse. Hearing Air's self-reproach, Sharona was slightly startled, then raised her delicate hand and gently placed it on her shoulder, offering comfort. "It's okay, Air. As I said before, I'm not a champion. How can I still be considered a champion if I can't even deal with a few thugs?" It was clear that Sharona didn't take the matter to heart at all. Her casual demeanor gave off the air of a hero who was unmatched. As expected, as if to confirm her words, as soon as she finished her words, Garchomp and the Ice Spirit returned. Following the stunned gaze of the group, they saw Garchomp's two armed spurs holding Charmander and Magneto, one on each side. As for Greenhood, his face bruised and swollen, the Ice Elf held him by the scruff of his neck as he leisurely followed Garchomp. Though not overweight, Greenhood still weighed over 100 pounds, and the Ice Elf carried him without a trace of discomfort, sometimes even walking side by side with Garchomp. He appeared effortlessly relaxed, as if he weren't holding a heavy object, but rather a piece of light paper. "Well done, Garchomp," Cynthia praised them generously, then left them alone, leaving Garchomp and the Ice Elf to watch over them. "Buzzbat, why are you here, elsewhere?" After their initial surprise, the three women's faces hardened into a serious expression. Buzzbat, held in her arms, looked up at the three women with a puzzled expression, tilted her head, and then burst into a heartless laugh, oblivious to the gravity of the situation. "Hey! Stop laughing, that's right. This is a serious matter, don't laugh." To impress the seriousness of the situation on Buzzbat, the three women all chided him, hoping to startle him. Serena was the most outrageous, puffing her cheeks, her lips slightly pouting, her eyes glaring, and putting on a fierce look. Puff, seeing Serena, who didn't come across as menacing, but rather had a delightfully fierce cute quality, Serena couldn't help but cover her mouth and let out a soft laugh. Seeing Serena ruin the atmosphere she had worked so hard to create, Serena immediately put her hands on her hips in embarrassment and angrily glared at Serena. Sorry, I didn't mean to, I just couldn't help it. And it's not my fault, Serena was just so adorable just now. If you don't believe me, you can ask them." Serena pointed at Air and Xiaoxu, who were watching the show, and decisively shifted the blame. Seeing Serena's look, Xiaoxu and Air could only laugh it off, trying not to meet her gaze. All right. Don't blame the little guy. If it weren't for him, I'd be in danger." Seeing Air and Xiaoxu's embarrassment, Sharona quickly changed the subject. "Isn't that right, little one?" With a soft chuckle, Sharona's eyes tinged with relief, and she playfully rubbed Buzzbit's ears, causing Buzzbit to let out another burst of delighted laughter. "But after what happened just now, I'm really getting more and more curious about this you're all talking about. I really hope to meet him in person, or have a Pokemon battle with him, get to know him and make friends. Yes. If you're not in a hurry, we'll definitely introduce you to you when he comes out of confinement." Xiaoxu gently placed her hand on her friend's shoulder. "Yes, I hope so." After hearing Xiaoxu's words, Sharona felt a little less anxious. While listening to the distant sounds approaching, Sharona smiled faintly. It seems the Mire City police are quite efficient. Meanwhile, at the Mire City police station, the officers were incredibly busy, their phones ringing incessantly. The events on the streets were so horrific and chaotic that some residents had already called the police. This was the reason for the situation at the police station, where even some calls from the onlookers were being busy. The overwhelming reaction to this incident quickly caught the attention of Miss Junsa. After all, Mire City was one of the iconic cities of the Kalos region, and such widespread street chaos was bound to attract their attention. Consequently, their response was significantly faster than usual. Miss Junsa, riding her signature police motorcycle, was a lightning-fast process, her sirens blaring. Riding a police motorcycle, one could see the crowd gathered ahead from afar. Even from the crowded streets, wisps of black smoke occasionally rose. They swirled playfully in the air, then drifted off to who knows where. Please move aside, please move aside. The police are investigating a case. Everyone else, please move aside, Miss Juncha shouted in a loud voice. The sound of tires scraping against the ground echoed as she rushed over on her motorcycle, stopping it sideways with a dashing drift. Following closely behind were several police cars, and the officers who got out immediately began evacuating the crowd. All right, everyone, please leave. We'll handle what's going on here." Ignoring the officers' attempts to evacuate, Miss Juncha, with her long, straight, round legs, walked directly in front of the four women. Or, more accurately, in front of Sharona. Her gaze lingered for a moment, and she saluted. "You must be the Senna champion, Miss Sharona. Thank you for your assistance today. Without you, we might have had to go through a lot more trouble." Even Miss Juncha, known for her integrity and impartiality, couldn't help but feel respect for Sharona, the Senna champion. "It's just a small favor. Thank you for your help. You'll have to help us clean up afterward." At this moment, Sharona regained her calm demeanor during battle. "What are you talking about? This is our job." Miss Juncha saluted Sharona again. Then, she turned her gaze to the green headscarf still held in the ice elf's mouth. Chapter 172 Ditto appears. Looking at the green turban who was held in the mouth of the ice elf, with a bruised face and looking a bit miserable and embarrassed, Miss Juncha couldn't help but smile happily. Ha, green turban, didn't expect you to look so miserable. Aren't you very awesome and powerful? You always managed to escape our pursuit, and now you try to show off to me, you?" Green turban gnashed his teeth in anger, wishing he could rush up and fight with Sharona right now, but he was subdued by the ice elf and couldn't say anything. He could only stare at Sharona and Miss Juncha fiercely. Hearing Miss Juncha's somewhat tough words, Air wiped the non-existent cold sweat from her forehead. Driven by the gossipy nature of every girl, no matter how old, she asked weakly but curiously, "Miss Juncha, who is that Mr. Green Turban? He seems to be quite powerful. If we hadn't met Sharona and had her protection this time, we would have been in trouble." "You mean him?" Miss Juncha glanced at the green turban who was still held in the mouth of the ice elf, and said in a somewhat unfriendly tone, "Green Turban, whose real name is Sato Daisuke, is a criminal who often uses Pokémon to commit crimes. In the past month, we had discovered his whereabouts and were about to arrest him, but he disappeared for no reason. But now I think about it, these criminals are really good. They actually know that the more dangerous the place, the safer it is. But it's also his bad luck. In order to confuse our sight, he deliberately picked a fight and ended up running into the Senna champion." As the story progressed, Miss Juncha's gnashing expression quickly transformed into one of gloating. She pointed at the stunned Sato Daisuke and said, "So he deserved it?" The three women gasped in shock at Miss Juncha's explanation. They could never have imagined that this man, seemingly a street thug, was actually a wanted criminal using Pokémon. But then they began to rejoice. They were lucky to have encountered Sharona, the Senna champion. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known what to do. While they had Gyarados and Rocket, whom you had left with them just in case, their experience and command of the situation were still limited. It was like handing a sharp axe to a preteen. Facing an unarmed giant, the child was powerless. Fortunately, it's all thanks to Sharona. Serena patted her chest with a look of fear. "It's alright, it's all thanks to this little one." Following Serena's words, Sharona took Buzzbit from her arms and, teasing it, chuckled softly. "Buzzbit, various." Sharona's actions immediately elicited a delighted laugh from Buzzbit. But something sounded off about the sound. Sharona paused, but didn't take it seriously. She caressed Buzzbit while glancing at the busy police officers. "Hey. Something's wrong. Why is the feel of Buzzbit different in my arms? Hey, what are you all looking at? It's like you've suddenly seen a ghost Pokémon. Miss Juncha, could you open your mouth a little wider? Stop with the goddess image. And Xiaoxu, could you please stop looking at me like that? It's giving me the creeps." Glancing around, she saw everyone was staring at her. Sharona pondered, but aloud, "Why are you all looking at me like that? Is there something wrong with my face?" No. Xiaoxu waved her hand, then pointed towards Sharona's arms. What's wrong? You all seem a bit insane." Sharona frowned and looked where Xiaoxu was pointing. The buzzing bat she was cradling and caressing was suddenly thrown out. What's that?" "Oh, Sharona, you better be careful." Thankfully, Serena was quick to catch the buzzing bat she had thrown, grumbling a little. Sorry, Sharona, still a little shaken, patted her chest. which was much larger than Serena's. PFFT, Miss Juncha burst out laughing once again, her unseemly manner. Ho, I'm dying of laughter. I never thought the dignified Sinnoh champion could be frightened, seeing the adorable Serena, who had lost her earlier seriousness and looked like a frightened Renkin cat, even after seeing her many times before. The woman couldn't help but laugh. Ahem, let me see who the culprit is. Feeling a little embarrassed by the stares, Serena coughed lightly to cover up her embarrassment. Let me see. It's Ditto, and it's a shiny Pokemon even rarer than the rare ones. So that means the Buzzbit from before was transformed from it, a true champion. Serena recovered and, after a quick glance, immediately revealed the identity of Buzzbit. You guys are really lucky to have such a rare Pokemon, Miss Juncha watched with envy. Because of her family, her Pokemon were only Growlithe and Windy. While the Juncha clan holds a prominent position in the police force, their Pokemon are almost exclusively dog-type, with a few exceptions. Otherwise, depending on the region, most Juncha women choose either a Growlithe or a Hay-8. It's not that the Juncha women dislike Growlithe or other Pokemon, but having only a few seems a bit monotonous. After all, dogs are humans' most loyal companions. Therefore, applying for the right to own other Pokemon has become their goal. No. This Ditto isn't ours. Serena waved her hand shyly, handing the Ditto to Air, her tone serious. It's not yours. Miss Juncha paused, then gazed intently at the Ditto in Air's arms. So, it's wild, then. Even Serena, no exception, cast a quizzical look at her. Then give it to me. Don't fight with me for it. I'll treat you to a meal later. Miss Juncha couldn't wait to take out her Pokemon. Wait. Chapter 173 Angry Little Jewer. Wait. At this moment, Air could no longer care about so much and hurriedly spoke out to stop him. What's wrong? Miss Juncha glanced at Air in some surprise. Serena covered her forehead lightly and sighed. Oh. Juncha, you are really impatient. You don't even wait for the words to be finished. When you meet a wild Pokemon you like, you must convince it immediately. Time waits for no one. Even novice trainers understand this principle. That's right, but this Ditto is not ours, which does not mean it is wild. Miss Juncha was shocked. Before she could ask, Xiaoxu said, this Ditto belongs to my friend Ryu. Because of some things, we are taking care of them temporarily. But this Ditto likes to play pranks because of his personality. This time it should be it that ran away again. So that's it. I was so happy for nothing. Miss Juncha was a little dejected when she heard it. This Ryu is quite an interesting man. Xiaoxa tells me he seems quite formidable, and now he's even managed to capture a rare, shiny Ditto. I'm really looking forward to meeting him, Hiro thought to himself after hearing Xiaoxa's words. Captain, we've got the wanted criminal Sato Daisuke in our car, and we've confiscated all his Pokemon. At this moment, a male officer approached Miss Juncha and saluted, reporting. Okay, I understand. Then you guys pack up. I'll be back later. After hearing the report, Miss Juncha waved, signaling the officers to leave. Yes, the male officer saluted without further questioning, then trotted off. Watching the male officer flee, Serena, a complete novice, once again displayed her 100,000 wise nature. Hey, Miss Juncha, I just heard you say you captured someone. What will happen to those Pokemon? Looking at Serena, who looked a little nervous, Miss Juncha smiled. You're not afraid we'll mistreat those Pokemon, are you? Serena scratched her head a little embarrassed after Miss Juncha's remark, then smiled shyly. Serena couldn't help but laugh, watching with a smile. You? Miss Juncha was also at a loss for words, but seeing Serena's concern and care for the Pokemon, she didn't say anything. Rest assured, everyone. Although those Pokemon have followed their masters and done many bad things, it wasn't their intention. They were just following orders. Even if there are some exceptions, we will hand them over to the relevant departments, who will take care of them and help them correct their mistakes. Is that so? Serena felt relieved. Seeing this, Air and Xiaoxa smiled at each other in tacit understanding. The four girls gathered and began chatting again, first discussing their dreams and then their experiences. It was truly a drama of four women. The ancients were right, dividing line. After waiting for Yu to help retrieve the necklace, Xiaojur didn't even bother booking a hotel. Instead, she headed straight to the Pokemon Center, planning to spend the night before reuniting with her friend Maxiu in Aromatherapy City the next day. Perhaps because she had experienced so much today, Xiaoguang didn't even bother eating dinner and immediately fell asleep. In a room at the Pokémon Center, the morning sun filtered through the curtains, illuminating the darkened space with a touch of brightness. On a large, comfortable bed, a slender, white thigh was exposed to the air, the warm quilt used as a pillow by the pretty figure in her arms. Perhaps because it was so comfortable, the head, exposed from the quilt, even nudged the blanket in her arms. The scene was filled with warmth and excitement. Pika pika Lisa Lisa big claw boom 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 bang bang bang. Suddenly, a sound from nowhere shattered the wonderful atmosphere. Ying the girl, still deep in sleep, subconsciously frowned slightly and flipped the pillow under her head over her ears, as if this would block out the sound and allow her to continue her sweet dream. However, this disappointed the girl. Instead of solving the problem, the sound only intensified. However, this did not stop the girl's determination to continue her sweet dream. She rolled over and spread the quilt over herself, pulling it tightly to wrap herself in it. The constantly shifting little dome of the quilt showed that the girl was in a bad mood, but her obsession with her bed and its warmth prevented her from opening her eyes immediately. Pika-Lisa boom, the sounds from the Pokémon Center's backyard continued to echo, like a series of piercing demonic sounds, irritating the girl's eardrums. Oh, why is it so noisy? How can I sleep? Finally, seemingly unable to bear it any longer, the girl rolled over and sat up, revealing a head that looked fashionable but with sleepy eyes. Why have I been so unlucky these past few days? First my necklace was stolen, then I ran into a weird guy, and now I can't even sleep well. I'm so pissed, the girl fumed, her expression unkind. If you or the Kato Phaeton were here, they would definitely point and shout at the girl, because this stylish girl gave them such a unique feeling. That girl was none other than the famous fashion model and gym trainer of the Raven Gym, Xiaoguang. Tap tap, little Jur swiftly made her way to the bed, dressed in equally stylish pajamas and suede-style slippers. She quickly made her way to the window. Though a little angry, she hadn't completely lost her composure. Reaching the window, she gently pulled aside a corner of the curtains, placed her eyes close to the window, and quietly observed her surroundings. In the battle arena in the Pokémon Center's backyard, several Pokémon were either training individually or battling each other. But what surprised little Jur was the lack of a single trainer anywhere near them. Even though there aren't any trainers present, judging by the training these Pokémon are performing, each one is formidable. Their strength has even surpassed that of some lesser-known gym Pokémon. Having been a gym trainer for a major gym, little Jur's eyesight must have been incredibly sharp, allowing her to instantly gauge the strength of the Pokémon on the field. Chapter 174 Shopping Again. In the Pokémon Center's backyard, on the battlefield, Pikachu and the others, after an initial rest and some stimulating words from Pikachu, immediately plunged back into their intense training and battles. Pikachu, Charmeleon, be careful. I'm coming, Pikachu yelled, sprinting towards the opposing Charmeleon, his speed increasing, leaving a trail of after images in his wake. Riza, come on. It's just a high-speed move. I'm not afraid of you, Charmeleon shouted with equal force, its claws even growing slightly longer due to the white light it emitted. Looking at the already prepared Charmeleon, Pikachu's lips curved into a curve, somewhat reminiscent of his master's, as he ran. Pikachu, don't get too surprised. The next scene caught Charmeleon by surprise. Pikachu, already using high-speed moves, was seen running with all his might and agility. When it was still some distance away from Charmeleon, it suddenly braked, pushing its forelimbs against the ground and its hind legs with all its might. Simultaneously, the spring-like structure behind it glowed white, hardening like steel. Using its forelimbs as a fulcrum, it spun 360 degrees and launched itself fiercely at Charmeleon. Caught off guard, Charmeleon felt a surge of force, sending it flying backwards. However, Charmeleon was no pushover. As it flew backwards, its sharp, glowing white claws stabbed into the ground. Perhaps due to the sheer force of its iron tail, 3 deep claw marks were left on the battlefield. Pikachu, taking my lightning strike. Pikachu, taking advantage of the situation, oh no. He pushed his limbs against the ground with all his might, launching himself into another swift flight. Unlike the high-speed movement of Phantom, the flash of lightning was more direct, leaving Pikachu trailing a long white tail. Unfortunately, Charmeleon was already prepared. He thrust his right hand into the ground, mimicking Pikachu's previous move, and swung his tail 360 degrees from top to bottom. His tail, shimmering with white light, lashed out fiercely at the approaching Pikachu, its metallic texture etched in its tail. Seeing this, Pikachu slammed on the brakes, attempting to change his attack, but was still a step too late. A streak of white light grew larger and larger before his eyes, until Pikachu felt himself flung backwards. But could this stop Pikachu? Such naivete. Pika. With a slight lift of his fists and a slam of his foot against the ground, he attacked again, just like Pikachu. Those two little guys are quite impressive. In a room on the second floor of the Pokémon Center, Jewel held the curtains with one hand, her eyes fixed on Pikachu and Charmeleon, engaged in a training battle. Huh? Jewel suddenly exclaimed. Pikachu had been sent flying again in a duel of strength between them. Then, using the air's momentum to stabilize itself, a ball of electricity gathered at the end of its tail. However, Jewel wasn't surprised by these skills, but by the moment he flipped in midair, he saw a familiar figure. Isn't this Pikachu that person's Pokémon? How did it end up here? Could it be? After her initial surprise, Jewel quickly calmed down and silently closed the curtains. With an inexplicably cheerful gait, she hummed a little tune to herself as she headed towards the bathroom. HMPH. You didn't even tell me your name? I'd love to see your expression then. The bathroom door closed, leaving only a whisper lingering in the warm, fragrant room, dividing line, back to Serena and the others. By this time, Miss Junxia had already ridden away on her special police motorcycle, leaving Air and the other girls standing there, still a bit dazed. What had happened today was still a bit baffling. Thanks to the presence of Serena, the Sinnoh champion and Pokémon investigator, they didn't have to go to the police station to give statements. Miss Junxia simply asked them a few formulaic questions before happily engaging in girly conversation. So, what should we do now? Should we continue shopping or go back to the Pokémon Center? Xiaoxu couldn't help but ask, looking at the streets, which had become somewhat deserted due to what had just happened. Let me think about it. Serena rested her chin on her hand, looking thoughtful. No one else said much, just stood by and watched quietly. Looking up, the sun, high in the sky, was still as dazzling and warm as ever. It's still early, why don't we continue shopping? We can go back to the Pokémon Center for lunch around noon. Besides, since it's a rare opportunity to go out, I'd like to buy you some clothes. Serena's eyes suddenly lit up as she suggested, completely unaware of the other girls' gazes. Oh, Serena's face flushed as red as a ripe apple, looking adorably at the three women who were stirring up trouble with their intentions. Serena waved her hands frantically, her words becoming a bit incoherent due to shyness. No, it's not. It's like this, okay. We all know. Ouch. Serena stamped her foot in embarrassment and explained as quickly as she could, though it felt a bit insincere. Don't overthink it. I just saw you always wearing his traditional Chinese hanfu, and he's been so kind to me on this trip, so I wanted to buy him some clothes as a token of my gratitude. Hearing you put it that way, I feel the same way. Why don't I buy him some clothes too? Serena's reminder finally caught on. Then let's go together, Xiaoxu agreed. Then let's go, everyone. Don't worry, I'll be there to protect you along the way. For once, Serena cracked a joke. Her beautiful eyes glanced at the buzzing bat in her arms, teasing, isn't that what you said? Buzzbat. The buzzing bat chirped in agreement. After hearing Serena's words, the girls felt relieved. After all, they had just experienced something terrible. Although they carried two rather powerful Pokémon, how could winning a championship give them a greater sense of security? Let's go. Consequently, the streets were occasionally filled with sweet, clear laughter. Yu was having a difficult time. The teacher had given him 1,800 wrong answers, and he still hadn't finished. The chapters might be delayed. Chapter 175 Battle in the Mall. The midday sun hung high in the sky, its blazing, glaring rays searing the earth. Even at this moment, a cool, refreshing breeze brushed across the warm earth, instantly transforming it into a warm summer breeze. The streets of Mire City were sparsely populated, perhaps fearing the intense ultraviolet rays that would darken their skin. Compared to the morning or evening streets, the streets were infinitely quieter. Not only the humans, but even the Pokémon were hunkered down in the shade, preparing to enjoy their hearty lunches. There was no sign of them wandering around. This sun is really scorching. Luckily we were smart enough to bring umbrellas when we went out. Even so, we've had a great harvest. Xiaoxu, can you give me another strawberry ice cream? That's delicious. Holding an umbrella in the sun, He looked back at the Pokémon. After a morning of hard work, Serena and the others were now laden with bags, but I, Serena, was the only one left, enjoying my delicious ice cream. Despite the heavy bags, the girls didn't show any signs of fatigue. It's true that women shopping here are incredibly effective. But then again, that girl was really impressive. She almost lost, Air said with a lingering sense of fear as she walked. Yet, if it weren't for the exhaustion of the continuous battles, we would have lost. Serena's pretty face was still tinged with nervousness at the mention of this. You guys got away with it. Thankfully, your companion, Yiyu, has been training his Pokémon stamina. Even Serena, licking her ice cream, rarely offered a comment. But I'm asking, is this really okay? Using Yiyu's Pokémon to challenge is a gift for him. After all, this isn't entirely our own doing. Xiaoxia sifted through the powder, feeling a little embarrassed. Don't worry. You won't care. Besides, the rules don't prohibit using other people's Pokémon in battle. Besides Pokémon, we're also commanding the battle ourselves. Air was more open-minded. The thought of winning the Pokémon battle made her step spring back in time. If it weren't for the public scene, she would have jumped all the way to the Pokémon Center. This was arguably her best result ever, aside from the Pokémon show competition. Even though it was just a small battle, and she didn't use her own Pokémon, Air was already very satisfied. Although she did have training battles with Ryu, Xiaoxia, and the others, she still didn't have much actual combat experience. It was either against ordinary wild Pokémon or against trainers who were slightly more powerful than the novice trainers. Air is right. Even though the Pokémon aren't yours, victory's all about your own strength, Sharona remarked at the perfect moment. Seeing everyone's curious glances, Sharona resumed licking her ice cream, looking down at the road below. There are many Pokémon schools now, much like this, she said. The school provides Pokémon to the students, who then direct the battles and ultimately evaluate their performance. Upon hearing this, Air's bright smile widened. It turned out that after Serena and the others decided to go shopping, they had been walking down this street towards the largest commercial building in downtown Meyer. Compared to the surrounding streets, the area surrounding the commercial building was busier, with a constant stream of people coming and going, and the hawking of various small vendors. As Serena and the others arrived at the commercial building, an announcement caught their attention. Now, a commercial break. A Pokémon battle will be held on the rooftop of a commercial building. The winner will receive a limited edition pair of battle gloves from the league. The rules are simple. It's a one-on-one qualifying tournament. To make the challenge more exciting and engaging, all participants will be female. Now, repeat, hey, Sharona, Air, listen up. There's a Pokémon battle on the rooftop, Serena excitedly called to Air and the others, clearly still a bit unsatisfied after capturing EV. Are you guys joining? I'm not really interested in this kind of competition, Serena said, noticing Serena's look. You guys, Serena immediately shifted her focus, apparently not expecting much from Sharona. Come to think of it, Sharona was a champion after all, the undisputed #1 in the Sinnoh region. How could she possibly participate in such a lowly competition? It was like a grown man challenging a child in a one-on-one duel. There was no comparison. I'm curious too. How about we go together? Air smiled, also eager to try. Seeing this, everyone agreed, saying they would go shopping after their games. It can only be said that Meyer City is worthy of being the iconic city of the Kalos region, as the most prosperous part of the city. The commercial building's floor space alone is comparable to the battle sites of 20 Pokémon, and its floors are a whopping 18.5 stories high. It can be considered the tallest building besides the Crystal Tower. The elevator in the commercial building is built outside, and through a thin layer of glass, one can clearly overlook the surrounding scenery, which serves as a viewing platform. This commercial building is so tall, I can see where the Pokémon Center is. I feel like I'm always in the clouds. You don't know this, but I heard the Crystal Tower is only taller than the commercial building. Really? Then let's go to the Crystal Tower together tomorrow or some other time. Amidst the chatter along the way, the elevator chime sounded, and Serena and the others in the elevator gradually emerged. Following the signs, they quickly found the registration disc and registered for the competition. Serena would use Leafeather's Rocket Sparrow, and Air would use Golden Gyarados. This was something they had already agreed on in the elevator before they got in. Ding, ding, ding. Before they knew it, the competition had begun, announced by the announcement. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.